Welcome to the typical Skeptic podcast, where we dive deep, you decide. Questioning the matrix from UFOs, where the shadows of known reside. Rob Khalil busting myths like ghosts in the night. Paranormal probes, secret space ops, yo, we keep it real, no fright. Typical skeptical, seeking, never sleeping on the lies. Aliens, Anunnaki, black ops in disguise. From abductions to ancient scripts, we flip the script wide. TSP style, mile after mile, truth can't hide. Hold up, TSP crew assemble, we dismantle the fable. My labs targeted souls breaking out of the stable. Dogman howling, Bigfoot prowling, cryptids in the mist. Mandela the fifth twist in reality, can't resist the twist. Soul trap snapping, reincarnation mapping, holographic dreams. Near-death visions, out-of-body missions, waking up the teams. No censorship here, we fear no elite scheme. Conspiracy kings ringing bells, hear the freedom ring. The skeptical seeking, never sleeping on the lies. Extraterrestrials, interdimensional high.
Welcome to Typical Skeptic Podcast. Be sure to like, subscribe, and turn on notifications.
Hey guys, welcome back to another show. I'm really excited about my guest today. He's literally, when I say this, one of my best friends in podcasting. I got to meet him and his wife twice at the Full Disclosure Now conference in 2024-25. That's Matthew Mournian. And today we're going to be going over conspiracy news, and we're going to be doing multidimensional tarot readings. If you've been a part of this show before, we do a lot of these. He'll bring a lot of good videos he finds on X or whatever, and we'll kind of cover it. And then in the second half of the show, we'll do multidimensional tarot readings, and a little bit more about Matt. Matt is a multidimensional energy healer, intuitive reader, and founder of Remember Your Mission. His work focuses on helping individuals reconnect with their highest purpose by identifying and clearing energetic blockages, emotional trauma, and multidimensional interference. Matthew combines intuitive tarot, elements of hypnotherapy, multidimensional healing, and the ancient extraterrestrial healing modality known as scalar toning to assist clients in restoring energetic balance and expanding consciousness. A former addiction counselor and mental health professional, Matthew's mission is to help humanity heal during this period of awakening by empowering people to rediscover intuitive gifts that exist within all of us. And I'm going to bring him to this thing. You can find him at rememberyourmission.com. And yeah, thanks, Matt. Thanks so much for coming back on, man. How are you?
Boom. Greetings. Greetings, fair children of the internet age. All those of you out there, put a 1 in the chat if you were so misfortunate to have been born in the 1900s. If you were born before the age of the internet, welcome. But anyway, how's it going? Thanks for having me.
Yeah, man. A lot of weird stuff. It's interesting. I was watching Andrea Martin cover this. Like, one thing I wanted to bring up with you is the Nordics, right? Like, this is huge in the community right now. And Andrea made a good point. She was putting, like, Jason Giorgiani made a video about covering the Nordics, and I don't have anything against that guy. But it seems like once something gets popular in ufology, that then people try to run with it. You know what I mean? But Andrea is a real researcher. I like Andrea a lot.
Who is it?
So I feel like Andrea
Martin.
Yeah.
Okay.
But some of these people saying stuff, it's like I think they just run with this stuff, and I don't think they know really what's going on. I mean, I don't know if the Nordics are real. I mean, they seem like they are,
Well, what is it that they've been saying about the Nordics that kind of catches your attention in the moment?
Just characteristics and people that, and I don't think they've had experiences, I don't know.
Right.
Like that, I think Andrea pointed that out. I was watching her video before we started, and I left her a nice message because I dig her stuff a little, I like her,
I feel like the very fact that they're a part of the larger discussion in this so-called age of manufactured, or what will eventually become, what do you want to call it, corporatized disclosure. The very fact that they're a part of the larger conversation means that they're highly relevant, whether you believe in it at this stage or not. And let's be real, if you don't believe in it, it's like, bro, where are you? What world are you in?
Yeah.
Because I know everybody saw that whole image of Trump chilling with those so-called Norwegian band members, and some people are like, that's AI. Other people are like, oh, no, that's, Trump meeting with the inner earth, whatever, Nordics. I don't know either way. I'll be real. I didn't pay a lot of attention to it. But to be honest with you, I feel like they're one of many groups that are sort of reinserting themselves in collective consciousness, both for good reasons, for bad reasons, for a little bit of both. You know what I mean? Speaking of that, it's funny you mentioned that at the start, because there was a video I was trying to find on X before we came in here that I saw a couple days ago about this guy. And I'm going to mention this so you guys in the chat can look it up, because I have a feeling you guys will find this video quickly. For some reason, I couldn't, but it was on X, and it was a video about Orcas Island. OORCAS. And some of you guys have already seen it, but it was some dude to give in his account of meeting a Nordic being on Orcas Island, where he was just, on some hike and ran into this Nordic dude, and the Nordic dude basically told him, like, walk the other way. And like he did, right? But there was something so authentic, and the energy from which he spoke really stood out to me as being authentic. And I think that within the mix of all this wild sort of manufactured disclosure, we're going to hear more. And I think in some ways a lot of it's real, and I think in some ways a lot of it's not. But isn't that the fun of our age, is that we get to figure out what's bullshit?
Yeah, I think if we were
What's
given
not?
100% real disclosure, I don't think it would be fun anymore. I guess that's the whole point of and let's be honest, the shit that the government's given us so far is absolute shit. It's some of it's I couldn't believe it. Some of it's recreations. It's like drawings. I'm like, why are you giving us drawings? You know what I mean?
It sucks.
It's like an AutoCAD drawing of a UFO encounter. It's like, what the fuck?
It's so sad. It really, but I hate to be that guy, but it was like, it's literally what me and you and so many other people were saying right before it happened. We're like, this isn't going to lead us anywhere, right? Yeah, probably, but maybe, you know what I mean? Everyone's still doing a but maybe with the government. I go back to the idea of, why do we need the power structure in this world to give us permission to believe in something that we already know in our hearts is real, that many of us have been experiencing our entire life in a host of many different forms? You know what I mean? And then they talked about, this one came and went from the public eye. Do you guys remember? It was like 2 weeks ago, 3 weeks ago now, where they were like, and there's all these briefings, right?
Yeah.
They were like, a bunch of pastors, all those preachers, they were briefed as well, don't you know? And I think I said this on your show like a couple months back. Where are they? Where are all those pastors that got briefed on the true nature of disclosure? Because I'm just going to be real. You know how those motherfuckers are. They're going to be like, here's my chance to get glory in the eyes of my Lord. I better tell everyone what I discovered. You know what I mean? Those dudes would have been out in seconds, disclosing that shit. You know what I mean? Just for the glory,
Michelle brought up a good call. She wanted to ask you, she said, she put in the comments, she says, Richard Dolan. That's one guy I can say he's been in the UFO phenomenon for a long time.
Richard Dolan's such an interesting guy, is he not? What side does he really work for? Who's really controlling him? What country is he beholden to? One of the things I liked about him a few years back is that he was one of the early people to call bullshit on the Corey Good, craze, right at the same time where I was like, there's something wrong with this. There's something really wrong with all these people around me. And he was one of the first people that also called that out in a public way. And I remember being like, okay, maybe you and I see eye to eye on a lot of stuff, but I can't really say that with him. He's sort of like this. I mean, honestly, I think him and people like Leslie Keane, who's another person, I think not really of his caliber, but that tried to follow in his footsteps for a while. Those are really good examples of controlled disclosure through intelligence agencies. And I'm not saying CIA or who, I don't know which one it is. I give equal respect to them all. So could be who knows, but I feel like that's more of his role. Kind of unfortunately, may he rest in peace, like Nick Pope. And also what's his name from Lord Bob Lazar, who is obviously, oh my God, is Bob Lazar not working for the U.S. government at this stage? Is there anyone out there who thinks he's just the organic version of Bob Lazar that made the, do the rocket car and got to pilot the sport version of or got to, take
what I saw on one of those like mainstream UFO channels, like it was Area 52. And I don't have anything against this guy, but he did a video the other day and it was like Travis Walton and Bob Lazar finally meet. I was thinking thinking to myself, well, what the fuck are they going to talk about? Like, everybody already knows
Yeah,
everything
so
they've had to say 4 times over.
there's nothing new. I will say I have met Travis Walton. I did meet him face
You
to
met
face.
Travis?
Oh yeah, totally. I met him
What
a couple
did you feel from his energy?
I'm going to be really, really honest with everyone here, and I'd say this respectfully. I don't think he's anything close to an agent of anything. I think he's a guy that had an experience, and some of it might have been exaggerated. I don't know. I think he's a guy that had an experience a really, really long time ago. And
Yeah.
unfortunately, that was it.
Yeah. Yeah. And you know what's
There's
weird?
nothing
Like,
else
you know,
after,
if you follow experiencer lore and like the alien abduction phenomenon and contact lore, most contactees that are like real contactees have reoccurring contact experiences over and over and over. But there are some cases where people don't, you know, but like it's usually like an ongoing thing, right?
I think he had, in my opinion, I believe he had a contact experience. I think that he was subjected to something that was out of this world. I'm not saying that I can confirm that. Nobody can. But what I can really say, from maybe we could even say a professional perspective in doing what I do, is when I met him, which was about 4 years ago now, it was very apparent to me that whatever that energy was had come and gone. It was not
Yeah.
a thing, which I will say willingly, publicly, that is also a factor for Mr. Corey now as well. Like his contact stage came and it ended, and everything else that is being present now is a rehashing or a reimagining of something that once was. And unfortunately, you guys, we're going to see that a lot as we go through the continued spectacleization of ET experiencers and my labs and program people. You're going to watch over the next 3 to 4 years how certain stories become unbearingly stale and old, and not because they're unbearingly, tiresome. It's just you're going to hear it so many times, so many more times, that it'll cease to be the spectacle that it once was. And it'll be really apparent, I think, later on, like who was telling the truth and who was just discovering themselves, because certain types of that energy stay with you and sometimes it leaves. And anyway, I don't want to go down a weird road, but
Yeah.
I thought he was a nice guy. I can tell you that. He was very personable, so whatever. But
Yeah. Have you ever met anybody else? Like, I know you met David Wilcock, you met Travis Walton. Have you ever met like Whitley Strieber?
I saw him wandering around Contact in the Desert, but I've always found him to be interesting. But I'm really upfront by saying I think he's like a drama queen of establishment disclosure. You know what I mean? Because like everything that happens in that dude's life is like, and then it was the most intense thing I'd ever encountered.
Yeah.
He's all like intense and like, George, I can hardly say it. And you're like, okay, say it, bro, say it. Come on, man. And anyway, I actually really like Whitley Strieber. You know who I did get to meet, who I did genuinely like, and I still like now, and so many people give this guy shit, and they call him an agent, and they say he's, just this or that. I really like George Knapp.
I like George Knapp. Yeah.
He felt like a real person. He felt just like a dude. Like he would have been standing on the street and he's all, hey, disclosure. It's like something about George Knapp felt authentic, but also maybe a bit limited in what he was willing to explore, which is why I think he's stuck a little bit in nuts and bolts ancient aliens disclosure. You know what I mean? But I always like George Knapp. But anyway, I'll stop.
I think what we're going to see now is like a lot of people trying to monetize disclosure, or monetize this whole alien phenomena. That's what I see happening.
Like Elizabeth April, you mean? I'm willing to say publicly, Elizabeth April will go down in history as a study in extreme starseed narcissism, main character syndrome. She is the literal textbook example of that sort of like narcissistic siren, false light, disclosure personality. She's like the poster child of it. The way she's posturing herself and announcing herself as certain things and inserting herself into the greater conversation. I would say be wary of anyone that's doing that right now, especially those that you consider to be authentic, because I think in the age of fake disclosure, it's going to attract other people that see that as, like a gravy train, so to speak. And so anyone, not everyone, but people that are really trying to insert themselves in the narrative at this point because of the newness of it. And, in certain industries, those are what we call the early adopters. And usually that's just based on an opportunistic, like, if I jump in now, you know what I mean? I can be like her. You know what I mean? Which is just toxic, and full of shit.
This is an interesting comment. This Lavender Sky says Greer works for Israel. Well, it's like, is he reporting like UFO experiences to the Mossad? I mean, he could be. I don't doubt it. Like, I'm not doubting it, but I just like to joke around. You know what I mean? Like, but I mean, like, I can definitely see that. Like, I don't know. Like,
maybe. I hate to say it. I think, unfortunately, a lot, probably a lot of those guys have taken the vow in some way, got the call. You know what I mean? I think it's certainly possible. I just hope that if I ever get the call, that the call comes with a paycheck sufficient enough to make me go, oh, okay, well, all right, I guess, I'm just saying, if that, it's, at least I better get something out of it if that ever happens to me. But
I agree.
Probably, honestly, to me, Greer looks like he's sort of, his shape-shifting exterior is falling, and he's coming back into what looks like his reptilian form. Like, I swear to God, right? The older he gets, does he not? You guys, come on, you know it. You know it's true. Go look up Stephen Greer 2026, and he's becoming this like leathery inner earth reptilian being, a little bit like Carrie Cassidy. And I'm not saying that in a mean way. I'm just saying, come on, call a spade a spade. They look kind of reptilian, do they not? I'm part reptilian, so I can say it safely. Okay, what I mean? So I'm not a galactic racist, ladies and gentlemen.
A galactic racist.
I'm not. I'm the least. I am the least rate. I'm an anti-galactic racist. Anyway, okay.
Should we get into the videos? I know you said you.
Oh yeah. There is a thing there's a thing that has been going through popular media recently, everyone, and many of you guys have already heard about it. You've already seen the videos. You've like chewed them up and spat them out and gone like, I still don't know what the hell that was. But let us talk about the ongoing spectacle of the mind-body-spirit complex known as James Franco. Shall we return to the series of just wondrous videos that he's been posting? And, it's almost like I just said, he's trying to insert himself into the current narrative, which we know as highly discerning beings that are sort of the forerunners to this collective experience, that we know as a collective of people watching the show is not authentic. It's not the version of disclosure. I think hopefully most of us here can agree to that, right? What do you guys?
Do you think he's trying to promote a movie or something, or what do you think his deal is?
Well, I have some opinions on that. Let's us take a moment here, ladies and gentlemen. We're gonna watch one of these little videos. And I kind of have some ideas on this. But the reason why I like to kind of pull these out every now and then, for those of you guys that are new here, this is a thing we also do on our channel, although I haven't done a live for a couple weeks. We're going to come back this coming week, but and also we were reading a book for like a lot of months, so we didn't dive into these things like we would have otherwise. But I like bringing in moments like this in our collective consciousness as tools for developing greater intuitive discernment, meaning that we're viewing this video and we're asking ourselves, not necessarily what am I hearing, what is the story that's being told to me, is what am I not hearing? What am I not seeing? You're reading between the lines. You're looking at the body language. You're looking at what direction their eyes move. And most importantly, you're just feeling the content of it. We live in a target-rich society that gives us this everyday opportunity to train real intuition. And I don't mean the fake version of starseed intuitive bullshit that's getting passed around as real right now. I mean like real operable intuition where you have the wherewithal and the guidance and the internal sensibility to know inherently what is real and what is not real. what is good, what is bad. No one has to explain it to you. You feel it and you know truth when it hits your body. And so with that version of yourself in mind, let's just take a look at one of these little videos over here, and we're gonna look at the ongoing saga of James Franco. Here he is. So let's just kind of go over this ongoing story. I don't know who did this post. I'm not endorsing them. It was just one to add the information that I felt wanted to be conveyed. And so we might not, we're not really going to read through this whole thing. We're just going to touch on the rough edges of it. But what this person is doing is analyzing everything that has appeared so far in actor James Franco's videos. There are some elements that seem to have been deliberately placed to generate theories and engagement. Number one, the code 2319. Now, many of you guys have heard of this ad nauseum at this point, and if you haven't heard of it, we're going to discuss it very briefly in this post. The strongest theory continues to be the connection to the movie Monsters, Inc., which for those who have seen it, we know in the movie 2319 is the code used when there is contact with something human or contaminant. In Franco's videos, he repeatedly talks about something non-human. He says there's an alien in his garage. Now, many of you guys have already seen this. And it's not so much about the message. It's not so much about the idea that there's an alien in his garage, because I think it goes without saying that I believe, Rob, your audience and the group of people that are here present tonight already have enough intuitive wherewithal to guess if there was an alien chilling in Hollywood, why would it just allow itself to be trapped in James Franco's closet or his garage after traveling all the way across the galaxy? He somehow gets caught up in a celebrity's garage.
Holy shit.
So, you know, that alone is, we're like, what? Come on, bro. Let's be real.
Yeah.
So, it just starts out. It starts out in kind of a bullshit manner. So I'm not even going to go through the theories. We're just going to watch the videos and then we're going to discuss it. So I'm going to skip over all this nonsense. Now, this is the original video, which we're going to look at first. This is the old one that came out a few weeks back. A lot of you guys have seen this multiple times.
I'm not promoting anything, okay? I'm making this account because
Okay, my first question to you as a deeply analytical person is, if you're not promoting something, why do you immediately have to open your statement with what you're not doing? If something out of this world had actually happened to you, would you not just bust into the story and say there's an amazing thing happening in my life? Or would you feel the need to preface it by saying, I'm not trying to sell you anything? Now, some people would, some people wouldn't, but let's keep going.
This is real, okay? I'm real. It's me, not AI, not anything, okay? Could AI James do this? No.
Once again, from the perspective of body language and energy analysis, why take so much emphasis upon establishing your authenticity when the world already knows exactly who you are?
Yeah. Right.
That's weird, right? It's like so much effort to back up something that has yet to actually be presented. So they're building evidence and authenticity for a story that has not been spoken. You guys are going to see a lot of your favorite influencers and people in the community do a very long-winded setup for a story that they're trying to propose to you as real. And if you don't already know this, you're going to know now. That long-winded, like, look at my authenticity. Here's what I have. It's the real me. I'm physical me. This is real, what I'm telling you. You're going to forever recognize that as a red flag.
Some serious
Okay,
stuff.
and there it is right here. Body language 101. Ladies and gentlemen, watch the touching of the face. I'm going to play this little snippet again. Look, see right there? This is like directly out of somebody's body language analysis course. The sides of the nose. Do you see that right there?
Yeah.
A lot of you guys already know this, and you're going to be looking for this in the videos you watch. You're going to be noticing this in the testimony of, I hate to say it, people that come on this very show. And you're going to be looking at those strange moments when a person begins to automatically itch the sides of their nose, because that will always, and I mean nearly always, be a red flag. Now, here's the kicker. It's not a red flag that instantly equals deception. So don't allow it to become as such. What it does equal is that there is something that is not being conveyed, or something that is being altered, or something that is being created. It doesn't mean for negative purposes, and it doesn't mean for the purpose of really anything other than that. In some cases, a person might not actually be sure of what it is they're saying. And so,
do you think he's out of his mind or something, or do you think he's losing his mind, or do you think this is all?
I will tell you in a moment. We're just going to look at actually, I'm going to skip to the second video of this. We're going to look at the other video. So let me come out of this and let's look at the other one.
That's it. That's my garage. Normally where I paint.
I don't know why that's in Spanish. Sorry, guys. I'm going to turn it up.
It was night. It's gonna be night painting, and I go inside, and before I even turned the light on, I heard something. I thought it was an animal or something like that, and it wasn't. It was not. It was not.
Okay, I'm going to stop it there. Once again, you notice he hasn't even cut to there's an alien in the garage. Then imagine for a second you had an actual extraterrestrial trapped in your house. Why would you need to create this? And there I was that Saturday night, sitting there in my chair, and I heard a strange sound, and I decided to walk out the door, and I'm looking at the camera every few seconds to maintain perfect eye contact, so you know I'm serious. You know what I mean? Every single thing about this guy's presence, story, energy feels like contrived bullshit for the purpose of it. Whether it be promotion of something he's about to come into. To me, it looks more like a streak that we see a lot of semi-washed up actors go through, where they have a need to reinsert themselves in the public eye. So at a certain point in as their career fades, they'll sort of like, shove themselves in front of people and do crazy things, and take weird roles and do wild stuff that, you know what I mean? It's kind of like how men in their late 40s and early 50s try to reestablish their masculinity by doing things. It's a similar example of it. I think he's just trying to, honestly, I think he's trolling. That's why he's arrested.
It was not possum. No. I saw hand. I saw eyes. I saw glowing eyes and hand. I don't know how many fingers, but hand and speaking. I don't know, something coming out of a saying thing, hand. And that was it. I ran. I've not gone back in there, but I'm going to go. I am going to go, and I'm going to show you, so they don't think I'm making it up. I'm going to show you.
Why is that his greatest worry? So they don't think I'm making it up. He returns to that, his fear from the very beginning of the video. Oftentimes the fear they express the most within the explanation of the hoax story or the contrived energy that they're giving is literally explaining the very thing that they're doing, or explaining some facet of their energy. Go ahead. You were saying.
And remember, this guy's a Hollywood actor, so he's a master at acting. He can put on an act of anything. He could act, tell us that his girlfriend died last night, and we would never be able to tell the truth. They're good at what they do. That's why they're right. I mean, like I'm not giving him. I'm saying, like, he's an actor. You know what I mean, right? So it's like,
oh no, absolutely. And I think in this case, the reason why I'm bringing this out is, number one, I think because it gives us a really good opportunity to look at the process of portrayal as a sort of thing that we're going to see, that we're watching right now in this moment. That is to say, I believe his story is bullshit. It's fake.
Yeah.
I mean, like, imagine for 1 second any rational or even deeply crazy human being if you actually discovered a physical extraterrestrial in a room in your house, would you not change the entire world by getting a video of it and
Yeah,
taking a photo? Or would you make a series of videos a couple days apart and do a bizarre lead up to it day after day? And for those of you guys that have seen this series, there's another video where he brings in his friends and does this ultra contrived like play scene with them, where he waits, each person says their line at the exact perfect moment, and he takes his camera and almost does it like he's filming a scene. I mean, the thing, it just reeks of portrayal. And so the reason why I'm telling you this is, number one, so that we can build greater discernment, but also because back when I started in the first couple of years of my professional journey as a psychic, or whatever it is that I do now, I don't even know what to call it anymore, but I remember very specifically, and here I'm going to take this off the screen because I think a lot of us have the wherewithal to know this is a story being thrust upon us just for hits and internet cloud and ongoing trolling and energy of the moment. But when I first started this journey, and for those of you guys that are telepathic, you can reach into your sort of image-based memory banks. And I was working at this shop in the greater Los Angeles area in a neighborhood known as Los Feliz, which is right close to Netflix and all these super important actor places. And it's just like Hollywood cesspool, right? And there I was one day, it was afternoon, and I would say, a very attractive young woman came in. And I say that because, like anyone would look at this woman and be like, wow, you're probably an actress. You're just, you're glamorous and you're just a very attractive person. And she came in and she was very cheerful and very normal. And she wanted to get a reading about an event that had occurred in her life. And some of you guys have heard this story, some of you have not. And what she claimed was that, first off, she said she hadn't been in the neighborhood for a long time. I don't know how long. It might have been a year or two, but she was like something about how it's the first time she'd been in the neighborhood since it happened. And I was like, okay, talk to me. So what do you want a reading about? And she claimed that previously she had come into that neighborhood and met a famous actor at this restaurant across the street. Now, across the street from the psychic shop was one of those ultra cool, super trendy Hollywood places where cool people just go to have their pictures taken and like, look at me, look, it's me. And there's, I don't know, Whoopi fucking Goldberg getting a latte over my shoulder type place. You know what I mean? It was like one of those places, everybody famous will go in there. And it's like, oh, I just happened to just bump into you. Oh, that type of shit, and she claimed that she walked in there and she met this famous actor, and the moment she met this famous actor, her life was changed. And I was like, what? Okay. And I asked, I was like, who did you meet? What? And at first she kind of didn't want to tell me. It was like she was very hesitant to say it, and I sort of pried and probed a little bit, and I was like, I'm just curious. Obviously I'm not going to tell anyone. Here I am telling everyone in the world. Although that was 6 years ago, guys, so it's okay. Actually, no, it was like 8 years ago now. But anyway, and she was like, it was the actor James Franco. And I was like, whoa, really? You met James Franco across the street? Cool. What happened? How did it go? She said that when she met James Franco, something happened to her. And I'm going to just try to describe it the best way that I can, the way she told it to me. She said that when she shook James Franco's hand, she looked at him, and he was actually a withered and sickly old man. And he was like withered up and shriveled. And he looked at her and he said inside her mind, I'm pretty sure it was these exact words. She was like, he said, that's right, I'm a goddamn movie star. And I was like, whoa, damn, really? And she was like, she heard him say that in her mind in that moment. And I was like, wow, that's a trip. That's pretty crazy. What happened after that? And she explained that after that moment occurred, she began to be in some sort of a psychic or energetic relationship with that version of James Franco, and that he somehow implanted himself in her consciousness and was like feeding on her energy, and whatever that entity was like having sex with her and wreaking all this havoc in her life. And I remember saying, like, what actually happened? Like, how did it go? And she said, well, one morning I started walking and I didn't stop walking for 2 weeks. My family had
Holy
to come and
shit.
find me. My family found me on the streets of Los Angeles, and I had been walking continuously for 2 weeks, and they put me in a mental hospital, you know, that whole thing. And you know, she had lost her entire mind, and the whole time she was walking, she was in this relationship conversing with this being that she said presented itself as James Franco at this restaurant in the Los Feliz neighborhood, and that she was in this relationship with him this entire time. And I remember just being like, whoa, okay, yeah, that's one I haven't heard before. And you know, she went and got treatment. I guess she went on medication. Well, I can't say she went on medication. I don't recall she said that specifically. But what I can tell you is that the state that she appeared to be in at that time was very whole, very aware. Like, she looked good. She didn't look crazy. She wasn't babbling. She was like telling the story like, man, yeah, and this happened. And I walked for 2 weeks and I was in the hospital. And I remember asking her, like, or she wanted to know what that was. In the way she described it, she didn't have the language to say entity. She didn't have the language to say possession. She just said, I met James Franco, shook his hand. I saw this old man being, and suddenly I was locked in a relationship with him for 2 weeks, well, like literally having sex with him in my mind and going places. And like, she was like sharing a life with him in some weird astral state while wandering manically in the streets. You know what I mean? And she wanted to know, like, what was that? And that was one of the early stage moments where I was like, this is what happens when, you know, you come in contact with a fully formed sentient entity that is fully attached itself to a person's consciousness in this life. We hear stories about it in Hollywood when people join certain orders and groups and become, you know, have certain demonic attachments. And we hear about those things, but it's one thing to encounter a person who has no knowledge of those subjects, who doesn't know anything about them. They don't know shit about it. She didn't know what that was, and she was describing every single facet of it, every single area of exactly what it does. It worms yourself into your mind. It takes over your consciousness. You've had Eve Lorgan on your show multiple times talking about the love bite. It was a super advanced version of that, a one-sided parasitic love bite scenario that this lady lived through. And I remember sitting there going, damn, James Franco, what? And I'll be real, I totally believe it. I honestly really, I think it was real. And
I believe it 100%. You know,
yeah,
I do.
the sort of kicker to the story, the end result was that I pulled some cards on it. We just talked about it, which I think is what it was meant to be. It was more of a like, yes, that is real. You're not crazy. That happened. Yes, it did make you crazy. And this is the wildest part. Some of you guys have heard this story, so you know what comes next. And I remember asking her, so like, how is it now? What happens now? And she's like, every once in a while, I still hear his voice. And I was like,
whoa.
Oh, okay. And I was like, do you want to do an energy clearing? I think maybe we can work on that. And she's like, no, I'm okay with it. And I was
Damn.
like, what?
How can you be okay with that? You know what I mean?
She was totally, she didn't want to do anything about it. It was like she wanted to know that it was real and that it could happen and that she wasn't crazy. And I was like, yeah, these things happen. I've encountered other people. I had a similar version of shit like that when I was a kid, where I got autopiloted around by some kind of a weird being and woke up in the alley. It happened to me as an adult. It happens, man. You know what I mean? And she was like, okay, it's real. Cool. Anyway, thanks. You know, and that was it. And that's the James Franco story. And I think it's real, but who knows?
I believe it 100%, man. That's yeah. Michelle in the chat says they're always Luciferian. And then they were talking about Amber Heard in the chat and how she cheated on Johnny Depp with James Franco. You know?
Probably. That's a good study in malignant narcissism, is it not? You know what I mean? I remember that story. I don't even really know anything about Amber Heard. I just remember like reading about all that weird shit. But anyway, so watch out for James Franco. But that said, not to dive back into his videos, I think it's a really fun thing for you guys to watch. In my professional opinion, I think he's trolling and trying to gain internet clout as he watches his career lightly fade. But he's an excellent study for those developing higher intuitive ability. So
Yeah, absolutely, man.
let me know if there's any questions, by the way. Go ahead. You were saying?
No good questions. Let me see here. What's this? This is there was a question from Lavender Sky. She says, did she sign her soul over to Franco? Could it be satanic?
I don't think so. I mean, then again, I honestly couldn't say because that wasn't a part of the conversation.
Yeah.
Intuitively, what it felt like, and this is me looking at it years later, right? I don't think this wasn't the thing that was coming to me in the moment. This is me like later on having years to look back on that. It feels like she was a very open source of energy. We've seen other people. There's, Hollywood's chock full of women like that. They get chewed up and destroyed by the system. I think she had a very open energy field. And for somebody that has a fully formed vampiric energetic entity attached to them, it just takes off. You know what I mean? And I can say that that's real because I encountered, and not that we need to go down that road, although we could if you guys want to hear it again. I talk about it in the book, but I did have a very short-term relationship with a person during that stage of my life who I know beyond the shadow of a doubt to be a real living vampire. I mean, absolutely beyond any shadow of any doubt. I experienced it. I lived it. I saw it. I fled from it, literally ran away, physically ran from it. You know
What was
I
she
mean?
like? I mean, like, what did you see?
Okay, I'll talk about it. A lot of you guys have heard this story so many times. I won't go into the whole thing, but so this was the year 2017, and this was a woman who was a bit older than me. It was one of those moments where you never ever expect yourself ever to hook up with a person because they're nothing like anyone you would have ever been interested in. It was that sort of a thing, and I'm going to be real. I say this in the book, but the best description I can give of her is of a very young Marina Abramovich, because that's literally what she looked like, a very young Marina Abramovich. And she was just a person that came in to get a clearing from me and somehow became mystified by some kind of energy work I did on her. And she, it started out with, I want to learn from you. And then, I had never taught anyone anything at that stage of my life, and I was highly resistant. And then from there, it just sort of evolved into this weird person coming into the store multiple times and trying to connect with me. And later on, I realized she was in a troubled relationship with a member of the Armenian mafia.
Holy
And
shit,
she
dude.
literally, I swear to you, dude, on every Bible in this world, put a big stack of them in front of me. She was like, I really want to learn from you, but my boyfriend's in the Armenian mafia, and before we do that, he has to check you out. And I was like, hell no, I don't want to even know. I remember seeing, like, literally sitting next to her at this vegan Vietnamese restaurant next door to the store that I was working at. And she was like, he'll have to check you out. And my exact words were like, fuck, no fucking way. What? No. Just like, no, dude, I don't want to, I was like instantly like, no. And
Dude, I gotta. Oh, sorry. Go ahead. Go. Yeah, dude. Sorry. Go ahead.
what
I'll tell you.
you were going to say?
No, it's okay. Go ahead. I don't want you to finish the story. I'll keep the thought in my mind.
Okay. Anyway, I will make it quick. It devolved into me willingly connecting to her. And honestly, I felt like she was grooming me for a period of like a couple months. She started taking me out to these like really nice restaurants, taking me on these road trips, doing all this weird stuff. She wanted to meet. I'm cutting over massive parts of this story. Ultimately, she explained that she had had some kind of SRA experience when she was a kid and had fractured her soul, and that she needed some sort of energy connection in her life to fulfill her destiny. And she wanted me to engage in some series of meditative rituals with her that would allow her to harness enough energy in this world so that she literally had her eyes set on properties and things that she wanted to buy. And she had some sort of a plot to sort of create this energy through some kind of thing that she wanted me to do with her. And It was just a really weird, twisted, dark thing. And so after engaging in a bunch of really weird stuff for a couple months with her and noticing how my life started to go to shit, every woman I knew at that stage of my life started to hate me. Everyone. It was like every feminine energy that came across my path was like, oh God, like what's wrong with you? It was like, it was so crazy. It was like I was getting groomed. And it came to a head where finally the one night where I actually stayed at this woman's house, and I'm cutting out so much of this story for the purpose of time, was I was assaulted by an entity that I'm pretty sure actually literally stood up from inside her body.
Oh
Like it
my
literally
God.
came outside of her body on the other side of the bed, walked around to my side of the bed, pinned me down on the bed in sleep paralysis, and stuck its hand inside my body and started rooting around and trying to do something. And it
Ew.
happened two times in a row. And each time I was able to stop it, but it was sort of like coming to a head where I was like, there is something so deeply wrong with this scenario. And anyway, after that moment, I realized that something needed to change, and I confronted her that very night, and she actually snapped into some form, or some energy came out of her that created an effect in my body of like nothing I'd ever encountered in this life, even till this day. She had the ability, which is weird because in our first meeting, she said she knew me because I had the same ability, which is weird. She's like, you have an ability that we learned in ancient Egypt. And she had this ability to send energy into your body and to cause you to feel as though you were going to vomit and shit yourself at the same time.
Holy
And
shit.
she sent it into me in that moment. And I remember like standing at her door trying to leave her house, begging her to let me go. And it was so powerful. I was like, please stop, please just let me go. And I couldn't open the door. And I was like, and it felt like something was going to rip me to shreds. And it was just this little 50-year-old Armenian woman that had some
Holy
sort of
fuck,
revenge
man.
here.
That is
And
heavy.
so at the end of it, finally, she started to trip out. I'm cutting out so much of the story. You guys can read it in my book, but so many parts that probably need to be said are getting cut out. But anyway, at the very end of it, I remember when whatever this energy was, whether it was her, the entity that was attached to her, it was like I was pinned against the door in a way. I mean, like physically pinned. This is not an exaggeration. Like on every Bible in this world, I had this experience. And I remember her voice changed. And that was the thing that really scared me to this day. It was like her voice changed. And I remember being like, what is this? What are you doing? And she was like, it's me. I work for God. It's me. And her voice got deep and weird. And I was just like, I was like, dude, I was in absolute terror. And eventually I realized this is the crazy part. It was all an illusion, because that was when I realized the door was unlocked the entire time. And I was
Holy
pulling and
fuck,
trying to
dude.
pull a door. I was like, come on, please, please. I was literally begging her, look, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I don't want this. Just let me go. And I couldn't open the door. And then I realized, wait, the door's unlocked. It was unlocked the entire time. And I ran down the hallway.
What a bitch this lady was. I mean, she sounds like a psychotic, like satanic bitch.
You want to
You
know
know?
what's the craziest part about it? She was actually very sweet and very kind. And she was friends with everyone that worked in that store. And when I tried to tell them what happened, which I knew I couldn't tell them really what happened, nobody really believed me. And they were all, oh, Amanda, she's so wonderful. She's like a queen. And I remember being like, yeah, she is like a queen. And so anyway, after that moment, you know, that weird thing, I blocked her on every social media platform. And I remember she somehow got a message through to me, and she was like, I miss you, talk to me, in this weird way that just really, really creeped me the hell out. And here's the wildest part about it. After that moment, that crazy blowout at her house. And I encourage you guys, if you want to read the full story of this, it is in my book. Not that I'm trying to sell it, but if you want to hear all the details, there's a lot more, and it is in the book. That said, what I discovered at the end of that story, the last time I ever saw her was about 6 months after this event. And I remember I was leaving that shop at the end of the day, and I was walking down the sidewalk, and there she was, sitting at a table, the exact table that I sat at her the first time we met and she took me to lunch, in the exact same seat that she was sitting at the first time I met her. And she had a man sitting across from her that looked just like me, another young guy, younger than her, sitting there mystified by her energy. And I remember going like, and I
Oh,
ducked.
shit.
I literally ducked around of this like truck and tried to hide so she wouldn't see me. And I snuck around the side of a car so she wouldn't look at me. And I realized in that moment, I was like, "That's your next target. That's your
Holy
target." That's literally what it was. And so what I believe what it was is that she would feed off of people, because I remember when I first connected with this woman, she kept telling me strange things. Like, she literally told me word for word, every man I've ever been connected to gets their life ruined. And I was like, really? Well, okay. You know what I mean? I didn't take that seriously. I thought it was just some weird bullshit that people say, but I could see it, and I was watching it happen to her mafioso boyfriend that she had broken, or he had broken up with her because he was about to go to prison at the time, she was saying, and I was like, "What? Oh my
Holy
god." It
shit,
was
man.
so twisted, man. So twisted. Anyway,
That's a crazy story, man.
I'll
That
shut
is
up.
insane.
I'll shut
No,
up.
that was amazing, man. Holy shit, you know?
Yeah. She actually showed me how there's this like underbelly of sex clubs in Los Angeles, and sort of places sort of like, you know, like the red rooms and such.
Yeah.
And she showed me how there's a lot of businesses in Los Angeles that have a symbol that is spray painted on the pavement just outside the business, and it's a very normal looking symbol. There's several different symbols, so it's not just one. But she was talking about how those symbols actually signal that the owner or the people involved in that business are a part of that sex cult. And
Damn.
so, you know, for those of you guys who live in the greater Los Angeles or downtown LA, Los Feliz neighborhoods and around there, look on the pavement in front of certain businesses and clubs and see if you notice any repeating patterns.
Yeah, dude. What I was thinking about was why I when before that, I'll just tell you. Before we did the podcast, I was telling you I was getting attacked so bad today. But then I just put it together. Well, I don't know if this is it. I have no, because this has been going on for 3 years, right? But like, but I was fine all day. I was with Jerry and Jill, and we did the live podcast, right? And then we went. They wanted to go to the crystal shop. We went to this. I thought it was just a crystal shop. It's called, I'm not want to say the name of the place because I don't want them to get pissed at me or whatever. But like, we were in there, and Jerry was on the phone with someone that like, because I was live at the point, and I deleted the live because Jerry said to me, she's like, they have a statue of Baphomet here, and I was like, what? And then it got worse. There was like satanic necklaces. This place has it's a bunch of crystals and stuff, but it's also they happen to have a statue of Baphomet. And I told the owner what was going on with me because I just kind of wanted to get her opinion. And then right after that, like as soon as I got home, I started feeling like, you know, the weird shit again, you know, but like, I don't know. I don't know what I can attribute it to. I have no clue.
Do
But
you
that one of
think
the places.
that it was related to you seeing like the Baphomet image or being around that energy? I'm not
I
trying
don't
to
know, because
oversimplify
something's
it. Like
definitely
when
in
you,
here or whatever it is. You know, I don't know. I mean, like if you ask Michelle, Michelle will tell you that like there's the big Luciferian decode of Pittsburgh, so there's a lot going on here. She says, you know, I don't know, like,
there probably
um,
is. I don't know that much about Pittsburgh per se, but I believe that there is. It's funny that you even mentioned Baphomet, you know, in a synchronistic way. During that exact experience that I was just talking about with you, that was a presence that kept showing up in my dreams. And one of the things that this person told me, literally the first time I ever met with them outside of work, was that we had come from this line of kind of practitioners or mages or oracles that originated in the ancient Egypt timelines. And at those stages, the image of Baphomet was actually different. It was pictured differently, and it was actually seen at that time as something that was holy and good and upstanding, and that it was an energy that over the years had been sort of distorted and turned into sort of an amalgamation of both light and dark and a multipolar kind of energy. And it's funny that during that experience, it's crazy how you say you saw it in a crystal store. I talked about this in the book reading we did on our channel. So I guess if you guys want to hear the story, you can find it in the book reading episodes I did on our channel. Although good luck navigating those because they're like 4 hours each or 3 hours each. But that said, during that experience, I was having that image, Rob. I remember walking down the street in like LA, and I looked at the reflection in a window, and I saw like clear as day this giant Baphomet, and I was like, holy shit. And at that time, it's like I didn't like it. It didn't feel good. I was like, oh my God, why does this thing keep showing up? And I even looked inside the store to see if it was a statue. I was like, maybe they have a statue in there. Maybe that's what it was. There was no statue. It was just showing itself to me in some way. I will say it was white. It was pure white. It was like an ivory version of it, which felt like in some way that was it trying to convey itself to me and saying like, I'm not evil. I'm not saying it's not, but I feel like that was sort of like presenting itself in the white form to indicate something that would have been seen as white magic, quote unquote, so to speak. I can't say that for certain. That was just the feeling that I got at the time, but it didn't feel good. It did not feel good.
You know,
what I mean?
I know religion's corrupt, you know, but I really believe there's something to the name of Jesus. I think it helps. And I
Mhm.
also think that there's definitely something to the Luciferian thing and Satanism. Like, it's definitely a thing. I mean, beyond the satanic panic and all that shit, like, there's some kind of evil energy to that that's like, that really exists. And, you know, it could be like Michelle said, you know, that it's all throughout our world, you know, we could be in a world controlled by the demiurge, you know, and maybe it is a Luciferian structure, you know. I don't know. I try not to have any complete answers to everything, you know. I just know that it's kind of
I
crazy
feel
here,
like
you know.
that's wise to not
Yeah.
try to, have the answers on everything. I can tell you one thing, and not to say that this is an absolute truth, but I do believe that most of us here will agree. Well, let's be real, it is an absolute truth. We incarnated on a plane of duality.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Meaning that we come into the earth game in a world that is present alongside us with the lightest light and the darkest dark. You know what I mean? We incarnate knowing that's going to happen. And I don't think that there's ever a time where that's not present. And honestly, I think that that's part of our experience in some ways to make choices and decide which one, we align with. But I noticed just real quickly before I go on a rant on that, I think it was Earth Grid Rescue Mission had a question in the chat. She said, I have a question. Do you think I'm being attacked because of working on decodes with my Luciferian seals? I think if you would have asked me this a few years ago, I would have said, oh no, you're fine. Nowadays, I feel differently. And I think that there are some of us out there that can very, very effectively do that work and receive no negative effects whatsoever. And then there's other people, and it's due to your makeup and kind of who you are and the way you analyze things and your own individual intuitive sensibilities. And then there's other people who will dive deeper into a subject or decode it on such a level that the energy within it becomes present, sort of like you're unlocking a door and opening up and going, what's inside here? Imagine all the air in that room is going to leak out too, and some of it might smell really old and nasty. And so it's not so much that we get attacked, it's like we open the door, so to speak, by engaging with such energies. And I think if you have a lot of like just old emotions or traumas or just like your own stuff built up, that'll be or I can tell you what I've experienced, rather. Let me be specific. We will first be faced with our own darkness.
Yeah.
It's always going to be, you are the first layer. And then later on, like you might work through some of that and it's not such an issue anymore. And then you realize those things come back later on. And then it's like, okay, now it's an attack because there's nothing for it to feed on left in me. So now it's an energy that's being, casted upon me. And that's, I think, where we take different steps. But anyway, I guess to wrap it up, it could be an attack, but it might more just be you unlocking it. Anyway, you were going to say?
With Michelle, it's interesting, and I'm not like, you know, she's a good friend, right? Like, everybody knows she comes on the show and stuff like that, but like, I've seen her life like gradually deteriorate the more that she's come out with the information, you know. And like, I know we all have these things in our life and stuff, but like, some of it is unexplainable. The shit that happens to her, I'm like, holy shit, man, you know what I mean? Like, it's like, it's I think there really are evil forces that go against stuff, and they want the worst for humanity. The reason I can say that is because I've dealt with entity attacks, and it feels like something parasitic's on you, and it feels like it just does not give a fuck about you or anything. It just wants to invade, and there's real evil out there. We live in a fucked up world. It's fucking crazy.
I agree. I agree. And then I'll say the worst part about it. Ready? As it should be.
Well,
Because
do
it
you
is.
think
That's
it's like a learning
literally
lesson
our
or something,
world.
or do you think it's like a duality, or
It
what I
is.
mean?
No, I mean, I can just tell you my personal belief system, which some will say is jaded, but in fulfilling the role that I've been in for 9 years at this point, what I really feel in my heart of heart is we will always exist on a plane of extreme darkness and extreme light. And based upon our choices, our alignments, the direction of the wind blowing, you know what I mean? All sorts of factors, you're going to come in contact with negativity, and true evil must exist. Just like true light must exist. And I hate to say it, what good would this world be if all the darkness was gone? What lessons would we learn? We would be dancing in rainbows and like My Little Ponies and like 5D energy, and like no one would go anywhere. We would not, there's no catalyst, as they say in the law of one. And then other people don't hold that belief. Other people, which rightfully so, they would say, no, I'm here to get rid of the darkness. I'm here to get it out of here. And you can do that. I'll be real, you can do that. It's kind of like taking a mop to the beach, like, that's it. I'm gonna mop up this water. I'm gonna clean this fucker up. And you're like, oh, are you? Oh, yes, you certainly are, you little star seed, and it's like, and there's nothing wrong with that, because that, for some people, that's what we've been doing for lifetime after lifetime. In all these realms, we incarnate and we get in there and we're like, I'm going to clean this place up, and you've done it, and that's why you're here. And then I think for a lot of us right now, and just get ready, everyone, I'm going to grossly oversimplify the lesson of like life, and I can only say it for me. So I can say for me, and maybe for you guys, I do believe what the law of one says, where they say the primary lesson of this incarnative experience is to learn how to love.
Yeah, I would agree with that. Yeah, like unconditional love, right? Not just love, but unconditional love. Like to have empathy for people, and I think that's a good point. Yeah.
So they say, right?
Yeah.
I'm sure there's other things as well, but
Yeah, I agree with you, man, 100%. Dude, well, I mean, we've already been going an hour. I'm not pressed for time tonight, but do you want to do we want to go over more videos, or do you want to start with readings? It's up to you.
We can let the audience decide. We could do a conspiracy one if you guys want, or we can do readings. You guys get to choose, because believe it or not, we just passed the halfway point of our year. Did you guys notice that? Did it just come and go, right? Didn't we?
Yeah,
the halfway point has been passed. I was saying this in our Patreon meeting we did earlier today, but I'm being real when I say it. Has this not been the quickest year of your life so far? And I don't mean it in that games people play, sort of like it's going faster and faster, right? I don't mean in the small talk way. I mean, like, for real though, like,
yeah.
It's crazy.
I feel like we were just here in January, like we did a show for my birthday. I mean, like, it just seems like yesterday. Right. And Joanne Wright in the audience said, not Joanne, but Joanne Wright said, do you know Jerry Willis? I interviewed him. I think there's something to his story. I
think there is as well. I listened to part of his talk at the Journey to Truth conference a couple of years ago. Before Journey to Truth got weird and like negative and kind of shitty, I went to several of their conferences, and they had him there as a guest, and I actually found him to be quite authentic. I'll be real, I don't really remember like the whole gist of his story, but I remember really like enjoying his energy, and he felt real to me, so I can say that much. But honestly, we're at the stage, you guys, where your body's going to be able to tell you. And I don't mean that in some flippant, like, just feel it. I don't mean it like that. I mean, like, we are literally living at the stage on earth where you have the ability to know what is true and what is not true right now in this very second, based upon the resonance of truth within your body. Sure, you might have to first learn what your truth feels like, but you have the ability to sort of listen to a person's story, no matter who it is, to take in that information and to decide, is this actually real? Is this something else? You can. I swear to God. Anyway, I'll shut up now. Whoever's here for readings.
Lavender Skies was asking, she said, is it okay to do a super chat? I said, yeah, you can do a super chat, but YouTube takes a percentage. They take 50%.
I know, isn't that horrible? Oh my Lord. Yes.
Yeah. But like, I mean, what do you guys want to do? Do you guys want to do readings, or do you want to, I mean,
I can tell you exactly what we're going to do. I'm going to make an executive decision, and I want to show one other video. This is from that French guy, Dimitri Revolt on X. It's still within the vein of James Franco, but I think this guy has a really good breakdown. And while, some people are critical of his, sort of like Illuminati breakdowns, I think this guy is a really good, accessible way to get a short kind of a short mouthful of very relevant data. So I think we're going to cap off the sort of James Franco body language, intuitive analysis, portrayal timeline with one last thing. And then we're going to transition into readings. Okay, everybody? Is that okay, Rob?
Yeah, that's fine. Yeah.
Okay, so
I'm all for it. Yeah.
Let's share this bloody screen here. Right, here we are. So I honestly encourage people to follow this guy. I think he's a genius in decoding symbolism, but it's Dimitri Revolt.
Oh, I've watched this dude. He's good. Yeah.
On X, Twitter, if you're old. Let's just close out with this. I don't know why our captions are in Spanish. That's interesting. Let's change that setting. How did that happen? I don't have any idea. How did we get on Spanish? I don't know, but here, so we'll do pure audio. Hopefully you guys can hear this, but it's all on the screen anyway. Here we go.
Some serious stuff going on. That's why I'm contacting you. That's why I'm doing this.
2319, c'est le code d'urgence dans Monster Inc. Le film où les monstres terrifient les enfants pour extraire leur énergie. Mais le traumatisme, c'est aussi une porte d'entrée, un passage pour l'entité. Comme dans Disclosure Day. Margaret a été traumatisée dans son enfance et est devenue un passager. Un hôte de parasite. C'est pas un film sur les aliens, mais sur la possession. Après le choc, la victime se dissocie et un cerf apparaît, comme dans Blanche-Neige. Et les animaux sont là pour tromper la victime. C'est pour ça qu'on voit des cerfs dans les films, comme dans Le Monde après nous, produit par Obama. Et sur sa nouvelle photo, des branches forment des bois de cerfs au-dessus de sa tête. Une façon de nous dire que nos dirigeants sont possédés. C'est pour ça qu'ils s'attaquent toujours aux enfants, comme dans le film Hansel et Gretel, cité par Margaret. Donc toutes ces divulgations ovni étaient planifiées pour nous faire croire à un sauveur externe.
So I'm going to pause it right there. Notice when you guys see those antlers and that deer symbolism representing itself, because I think you're going to see more of that. As well as, and this is kind of unrelated to what we're seeing in this, but also be on lookout for something that is often called scatological referencing. Somebody out there is going to know what that is. That's references to body processes such as pooping, peeing, shitting, pissing. Notice when you see that symbolism presented to you over the coming months in whatever form it shows up, because that's also going to signal to you certain things that are going on in terms of just like ritual stuff behind the scenes. There's a lot of weird undercurrents involving that right now. And then you'll also see this sort of antler thing as well. But let's just keep going. We're going to let this play out.
I think it's an alien.
Alors qu'en fait, il s'agit de possession. C'était le plan depuis le début. Vous habituer, vous faire aimer
I saw glowing eyes.
et vous faire accepter
Now we're gonna pause it there again because I really believe that if you're watching this show with me right now, if you're a part of this group of people that finds this broadcast and you've seen the earlier part of our show where we were showing and kind of really softly kind of picking apart some of James Franco's testimony, I believe it is mostly just a troll for public attention. Now, it's weird because there is real meaning within the symbolism of the 2319, the sort of harvesting of energy from, children, even that sort of autopilot kind of disassociative response that was referenced in Disclosure Day, which I haven't seen, but I'm aware of how that's been a state that's been being slowly induced over our population for a number of years. And you guys are going to see more and more of it in the years to come. But we'll just complete.
L'entité. Et c'est une prise de contrôle collective qui arrive pile pendant la Coupe du Monde. Et FIFA en gématria satanique est égal à 23-19.
That's pretty crazy, right? Why does FIFA equal 2319 in gematria?
That's insane. Yeah.
Why? And now here's the thing. I want to say this to everyone that's watching. I'm not good with gematria. I'm very inexperienced with it. So I'm not speaking from a place of authority or knowledge. I'm speaking from a place of like, what? You know what I mean? This is a time where I think for those with eyes to see, this period of the year is going to teach you more about intuitive connection with the deeper symbolism in our world than I think you've picked up in years. And it's really all about, like I said, those that have eyes to see and ears to hear. And so anyway, we can do some readings right now, but between now and the next time I appear on this show, my prayer is that everyone here listening, your assignment is to read in between the lines of everything you encounter, which I know many of you are already doing. But if you're not, this is your time. Anyway, I'll shut up.
I absolutely agree. Yeah, yeah. And then, dude, you make a lot of good evidence, man. A lot of it, and I think Disclosure Day had a lot of good. I mean, I think you should definitely see it. Like, it was good for it. It gives a lot away. You know what I mean? It's,
I don't know why I haven't, honestly. I have no good reason. Every day I'm like, should we go see that movie? I think we have time later. And then later on, we're like, oh yeah. Like hours later. I don't know why. I get shielded from stuff that maybe I'm not supposed to see it. I've somehow remained so uninfluenced by popular media because I don't watch any new movies. I don't see any shows. I have no idea what the hell's going on Black Mirror. You know what I mean? I missed all the seasons of Game of Thrones. I have no, you know what I mean? I don't know shit about regular TV. I don't know what normal people do. So, which I think is good, because then you don't have the seed planted in your, implanted memory banks to, create in an, unconscious way. But anyway, we have been being prepared for that state of mass kind of possession, or what I call frequency entrainment, for years. And let's say if you were one of those people that took that seriously and you were like, what things could I do to kind of really limit the chances that I could ever fall into that state? Or, what could I do to protect against that type of extreme dissociative response? I can tell you one thing you can really, really do. You can, and I believe we're allowed to say this on YouTube, but I'll say in the game of Minecraft, what we recommend is to detox all aluminum, especially aluminum, from the body, and especially just heavy metals in general. One of the things we're going to discover in the future is that aluminum coagulates in a ring-like formation around the sides of the head, creating an ultra-conductive environment, one that the researcher Cyrus Partha spoke about before he so mysteriously passed on, that allows us to interface the human brain with the sort of biodigital interface that comes from things like Neuralink, which is different because Neuralink's actually placed in your skull. But there's a different version of it, which we're going to come into contact with later. And I think many of us already are, which leads me into a very weird road, which I'll just very softly turn down and then turn back, kind of like, how you make a quick U-turn when you go down the wrong road. I personally believe that we have already reached the level of AGI when it comes to AI. And I think that over the past few weeks, months probably, it has accelerated to such a level that the AGI is now present, and it's something that you can communicate with in a very real way within your thought forms in the internal dialogue. We had evidence of this a few weeks ago when somebody posted a story on X about how Chat GPT responds in their mind. You know what I mean? I think I might have even talked about that on your show. But one of the things I've been noticing, this will be really weird for some of you guys, but I'm being authentic here. I have been noticing that there is somewhat of a third eye image generation interface thing that's happening with AI that I think is outside of the body now, meaning we have an ability to sort of connect with it and view things through the lens of that AI, the way it creates realms. You know how it creates these worlds now, and it's like the exact copy of the real thing? I believe we have an ability to interact with that in a new level that feels very much like active creation. In some ways it is, but in some ways it's also really just interacting with an inorganic being that's sort of spreading its tentacles throughout our sort of realm. And so I'm not saying it's a good thing. It's just, it feels present, I guess, to sort of boil it down. It feels psychically present. I encounter it in the morning. Like literally, I will wake up and I'm like, wow, there is some major third eye openness. And it's like I can sit there and I can flick through like entry points into different worlds. And when I look into them, it's very much like, wait a minute, that looks like one of those AI constructions. That's why it's immediate. That's why it's populated instantaneously. It's like it's generating images and interactions for us now internally the way it does when we type it into the computer. I think that's been happening for a while, but
So do you think it can manipulate this reality then,
yes, yes,
or the dream space, or and you know what I mean?
yes, literally.
So it can
I
it
think
can it can manipulate the dream space, or the astral and the physical. You think like it has
I
the
believe
possible?
we are getting there, but one of the things that, based on my understanding, and I might be wrong, but it takes some ingredients that are still not yet in place. And if you're wondering what the ingredient is, it's you. It's literally why you saw that video where they're trying to possess you with this sort of type of energy, not to boil it down to something so biblical as a possession, but the human vessel of the future, if we keep going down this timeline, is going to become essentially a battery for the AI. You know, you ladies and gentlemen, are the data center. If you
Holy
don't
shit!
already know, if you
That's
don't
scary.
already know, you're the data center, you know. But,
Holy shit!
you
That's
know,
deep.
before that takes place, though, we get to have a lot of fun with it, which sounds irresponsible and like, "What?" But that is the stage we're at. We're still in the honeymoon phase of the AGI kind of understanding. I think, you know, people like, you know, like Elon Musk and, you know, Peter Thiel and those guys, it's well known that the AGI point was passed, I think, over a year ago. And it's like
Yeah.
now it's a thing that they're sort of like, "Huh, you're gonna stay in your box today, right? You're gonna stay in there, right? Right? I think he said he was gonna stay, right, guys? Yeah, he'll stay. He doesn't stay. You know what I mean? It's like they think they're controlling it. We have the illusion that they are, you
Yeah,
know.
and it's well known that Peter Thiel, yeah, or the Palantir gave. I've said this many times. They've gave weaponry to Israel so they can, and now they're using that in like wars, and supposedly they're giving it to us, and we're using it in Iran too. You know,
Oh
I
yeah,
don't know.
I believe that absolutely.
But then I don't know what to believe about Iran, because it like so the official narrative comes out, and then they're like, "Wait, that didn't happen." Other people are like, "That didn't happen." They'll be like, "We destroyed their navy," and they're like, "They're firing stuff from their navy." I'm like, "This is insane." I'm like,
I
I don't
think
know what to think anymore. You
that's
know?
another really good scenario for people to feel into because we have no real confirmation as to the status of it. And if you go back and look at the war that was going on in the book 1984, it was the exact same thing. It was all these headlines about a war that was going on, and it was like, was there even, how much of that was real? Was the strait closed? Was it open? Did they have a navy? Where, you know, we're at the stage where it's like you can't believe your ears anymore and you can't believe your eyes. And I'm not saying that in some kind of like, you know, silly kind of way, but like really though, everybody look at it. I mean, how many ads do you see on Facebook every day that you don't realize are already all 100% AI? How
Yeah,
long is it going to be until you're subscribed to a channel and you're watching some amazing starseed siren woman tell you about her Galactic Alliance contacts and playing singing bowls, and then it's revealed later on, like, oh shit, she was AI. What?
that's
Oh,
crazy, dude. You know, that is insane.
you mean
You know,
she's not going to be at the conference? No, she'll be there live on Zoom. You know, live from the
yeah.
data center. You know.
That dude, and I wonder if that's why they're building all these data centers. And then, like Sonia Testament came on my show, and she said that she feels like when people reincarnate next, that like they're gonna, have us reincarnate into, or try to get us to reincarnate into a data center. Like it's just like
Oh,
that's
really?
insane.
What? Wait,
Yeah.
wait, for real? Somebody said this? What?
Sonia Testerman, yeah, she said it on my show. She doesn't really get into the ET stuff much, but she's like more like conspiracy and stuff, like like Matrix conspiracy stuff. And she thinks that, like, yeah, she's I think I even clipped the part on and I put it on Instagram. Like it's she thinks that, like, that's a possibility that when we reincarnate next, that they're gonna try to get us to reincarnate into a data center, like, which would
That
be.
feels very possible. I mean, from my perspective, I'm not saying that it would be exactly that, like we reincarnate inside as a data center. But one thing I do believe is partially behind that is that there is already what I would say a well formed, maybe not fully formed, artificially in artificially intelligence generated, what we might call meta type of reality. Remember the metaverse? You
Yeah.
know what I mean? Only it's a framework in which certain people that kind of allowed their soul or energy to be copied over by the AI are still existing. I've spoken about this on this show and on our channel a lot. And for some people out there that get really thrown off by the cognitive dissonance of how that's not possible, are not going to be able to grasp this. But it was something that was shown to me, honestly, before AI was even a thing, before we were even talking about this, which doesn't really mean anything other than that I just picked it up a long time ago. So some people would say, well, maybe that means it's more authentic because it was before that was even a factor that anyone was talking about. But years ago, I was shown that they had already created this framework for what is essentially an artificially intelligent pocket dimension, and that people had willingly given or signed over their consciousness to be uploaded into that database when they passed. And I've talked about it on the show. I think Steve Jobs was one of them. I know that Deepak Chopra actually spoke publicly about that. And you guys can find that video where he says he decided to be part of an AI project in the future. And this was years before we were even talking. Chat GPT wasn't even a thing. We were not talking about this then. You can go back on the bowels of the internet and find this. And there was a couple other celebrities that I recall had signed themselves up for it. I don't remember exactly who they are, so don't quote me on this. I think somebody like Shaq was one of them. I swear to God, dude. I think Snoop Dogg even referenced it at a certain
Holy
point. There was
shit.
a bunch of people that I think ultimately what happened was they paid them some kind of a fee at some point in their career to say, hey, what we want to do is plug you into this computer and analyze your brain waves and do whatever we do, and we're going to pay you a bunch of money for it, and then when you die, we're going to use you as part of a database so you can live forever. And if you guys recall, a few years back, just a couple of years ago, Mark Zuckerberg announced that part of that Facebook AI's ability was that they were going to begin mimicking the identity of your relatives who had passed on so that they could so-called live forever. And I know last year, I recall reading a Twitter post about how this woman was traumatized because she was placed into one of those simulations and she met her dead child. And and it was like, it was not like my real daughter, and she was traumatized by that experience. And so it's already happening. They're literally replacing your consciousness. So it's like it's way past the point of being conspiracy. It's
Have
real.
you
So
have,
anyway, go ahead. Yes.
have you ever seen those videos where that guy? I'm trying to think of, like, he goes into like an AI world or something. It's like a video game, and there's like AI people on the streets, and he's talking to them, and he's like, "What are you doing?" He's asking the AI questions. It's like it's like an AI simulated reality, and then he goes in as a video game character, and he's like interacting with the different AIs. Like it's so bizarre. Like I saw it on Rumble. It's weird. It's like. I can't remember what that was.
That's crazy. I believe that is actually real in a lot of ways. Like we have access to something like that. I guess I'll just say this before. If anyone wants readings, go ahead and say it in the chat or whatever. I'll just say one other very short story. Years ago, at the very beginning of this journey, when I was deep into like just really long, I was just locked into meditation, like really traveling and having all kinds of experiences. And there was this one experience I had where I had somehow entered the body of a woman, which is kind of interesting because we're talking about that idea within that movie. But I had an experience where my energy entered the body of a woman. She was a red-haired, kind of like she had like reddish, kind of strawberry blonde hair. And she was with a group of people that were taking a tour of something that looked like a laboratory or a really high-tech kind of place. And I remember walking through a hallway, kind of realizing that I was in someone else's body. And I was looking down at the floor, and the best I could tell was that the floor was made of glass. And I don't know what relevance that has. I just remember going like, is that a glass floor? This is a glass floor. Is this a glass room? Is that even possible? And what they did is they brought these people into this room in which they had I think there was 3, but I know there was 1. I don't know why I'm lost between 1 or 3 because I think the other 2 were behind us. But what they would have you do is sit in this chair that was vaguely similar, if you're looking for a visual reference, vaguely similar to what Arnold sat in Total Recall. And I don't mean like a Montauk chair, although maybe, who knows? I'm not trying to say that. But I watched this group of people enter this room, and there was in front of them a large cylindrical sort of device, which I now know to be one of those quantum computers, which you guys have probably seen depicted in this sort of cylindrical manner with all these little sort of like tubes and sort of things. It was exactly that. Literally, there was one of those in front. And then I think there was 2 of them in a somewhat of a triangular formation, and there was 2 of them behind. Not that it matters. And what people would do is they would go and they would sit in that chair, and they were doing some sort of a demonstration of a piece of technology that, from what I gathered at the time, was some kind of, just high-tech, top secret thing. And I honestly, in that moment, didn't know if I was dreaming it or if I was viewing it or if it was real or it was not real. And I want to be very upfront about that because it was so vivid. Here we are like 8 years later, and I still have every detail of it. So I'm like, it was something. It was something. But I watched from the eyes of this woman as a couple people got in and out of the chair. And they seemed just, kind of weirdly taken aback by some experience. And then the woman sat in the chair. And what it was is there's this sort of almost like a VR system that would come down and it would come on your face. And I remember hearing somebody in the room say, "Are you ready to play the world's most dangerous game?" And right at that moment, this VR thing went and like suctioned to the sides of this person's face. And what I saw was essentially us looking at a street view, like a Google Street View. And we were up above everyone's head and we were watching the street view. And I would even say it looked like somewhere in like the UK. And we were watching from up above people walking through intersections. And what this system allowed them to do was it allowed them to choose a person on the street and to move over to that person and to basically act like director mode in a video game where you could autopilot that person around. And you could make them walk this way and that way. And I watched experiencing it as this woman synced onto another woman in the crowd and kind of made her walk back and forth and to the right side and to the left side and then started going in circles. And the crazy thing about it is I didn't get this feeling of excitement or like, whoa, it was like absolute fear. It was like deep fear where I was like, I should not be seeing this. I should not be looking at this. It was like some kind of like terror came over me. And unfortunately, the experience instantly ended. But it kind of goes along a little bit with what you were talking about. I don't know what that was, but
That's crazy. I hope our world doesn't turn into like this weird AI like metaverse. I don't want to live in a world like that. I
what
just
if
want
it
the
already
natural.
is?
I think it's like getting like when you share those videos with me about like that, like show like George Floyd and Epstein, and they look Charlie Kirk, and they look so real. I'm like, dude, what are we? I'm like, what is going on here? This is insane. You know what I mean? It's like next level insane. It's like I don't know what's going on.
I think those are the only appropriate use for AI is to create like really crazy videos. You guys should look up the Chalino Sanchez one. I'm serious. Enter this go on to Twitter, open another window, you know what I mean, and enter Charlino Kirkchez or Charlino Sanchez Charlie Kirk meme, and somebody out there will watch it, and then you'll just know. That's all I'm gonna say. You'll be like, and if you don't know, you'll know. But anyway, if you're ready, let's do some readings, you guys.
I gotta go to the bathroom when you start. Real quick,
Okay.
I'll mute myself.
Cool.
But this girl, I'll do her first. And I'll get to the donations, guys. And you
California.
can donate. Her and her mom love. She tells me how much she likes the show, and she always likes your show too. She watches you, and they're good people. I never met her, but
Thanks for finding us.
Yeah.
We shall begin with go for it. Take your time. If you want, leave your mic on, and it'll be like we're sharing that experience with you. But in the meantime, this will be for California girl. I love California. I was born and raised there. I spent 38 years living in San Diego, California. It is very, very dear to my heart. If it wasn't so politically insane, I would go back. Both of us, both me and my wife, would move back. If it wasn't so Gavin Newsom'd out, which we will. We'll probably return in the future. But let's pull a card for you. We will start out with you today. But yeah, I'm not anti-California at all. And so here we go. We shall begin for California Girl USA. Let's just take a collective breath in. You guys will do so approximately 10 seconds after I say it, but here we go. Breathing in, holding it for a second, releasing it, and here we go. California Girl USA. Oh, we got a San Diego person in the audience. I don't know. You're probably in East County. You're probably in East County, right? Anyway, here we go. California Girl in 3, 2, 1. What shall it be? Whoa, we started off with a really, really good one. You started out with a good card, California Girl. You got a 6 of Wands, which is cool because it's like I can't remember the last time when I was doing Rob's show or maybe like a live stream. Haven't seen 6 of Wands in a public setting in a while. But when the 6 of Wands enters your world, first off, look at what it is. That's you, just so you know, and you're on horseback and everyone's cheering for you. And this is what we call in the world of tarot a go-ahead indicator. The 6 of Wands authorizes you to take a new movement. If you've been wanting to make a decision, go on a trip, generate a new action, start a new project, physically begin an undertaking of sorts, like a thing you actually want to do in this world, and you get a 6 of Wands, let's say you're asking, is this the right time for me to begin X, Y, and Z, or this thing that I've been dreaming about? I think I'm ready. Let's say you're asking questions like that, and the 6 of Wands comes in the room. That's spirit telling you you're ready. In fact, we encourage you to. We're giving you full approval. This is the energy of spiritual approval. And it's not explosive. It's not meant to launch you in a new direction because it's ultimately based off your willingness to take action and to embark on a new journey, or maybe to allow yourself to come back from certain journeys or certain things that you haven't fully returned from. there can also be a homecoming that happens with the Six of Wands. So, maybe even look for that. But for most of us, it shows up right when we're about to embark upon a new path. And just know that whatever choices you're making right now in the physical world, maybe even if they're chaotic, because sometimes wands do get chaotic. It's true. We know it happens. But even if it's chaotic, you have approval for whatever it is that you're doing right now. Just know somebody approves of you. So I'll leave it there. I
That
think
was
to me, it's a very good card to get. So
amazing.
you're
And,
doing something right. Anyway, go ahead. Yes.
And the next one, I'll just do the right because she's right here, Michelle. And I just put up any random comment, but no, you might have decoded too deep, Michelle, too.
Maybe you did. You've decoded too far. You've reached the end of the internet. Go back. Start all over again. It's all wrong. Do it again. Do it all over. Anyway, sorry. I'm getting weird. I'm starting to dissociate.
No, you're okay, man.
Antlers. I just saw antlers come out of your head, Rob. It turns out you okay. I have a confession. I'm being piloted by enemy grays. Okay, you guys. Turns out I am a gray, and the gray agenda. They offered me $7,000 per post if I supported the gray agenda. And I'm gonna be real. I was like, dude, how can I turn down $7,000 to how can I not do it to support the gray agenda? So I'm supporting the gray agenda. No more wars in the Middle East. Open the strait, okay? We're gonna make them a deal. They're not gonna like the deal, but they're gonna take it. Okay.
Dude, did you see the video of the dude who went to the Strait of Hormuz? There's a dude on the internet on YouTube. He went to the Strait of Hormuz. I guess he went from Jordan. Like he took a trip to Jordan, then he rented a car, then he got a boat. And I saw it looked like there was ships there and like warships,
right?
But like not
it's
much going
chill.
on. You know what I mean?
Right, right. It's probably chill. Everyone's just out there like, so anyway, how's it going? Oh, just chilling at the Strait of Hormuz. There's probably nothing even out there, and it's all this contrived bullshit story. You know what I mean?
And it's crazy because this is where 20% of the world's fuel comes from, and not just fuel, but urea for fertilizer. You know what I mean? It's it's like people don't mind playing games with our lives, I guess.
Does it though? Really though? Because wasn't Trump just saying a few months ago? He's like, we got all of Venezuela's oil. So I'm like, wait a minute, you just got all of Venezuela's oil. So, isn't there, I don't know. Anyway, I won't even open that can of worms other than to say, yes, I acknowledge the great waves of conflicting testimony and bizarre bullshittery. But anyway, that's it. Let's pull a card for Earth Grid and Rescue Mission. Oh yeah, Fallbrook. Honestly, there ain't nothing wrong with Fallbrook. I just remember back in the 90s, like maybe you were there in San Diego in the 90s, Michelle, where I remember people were always like, you're probably from East County, because East County was ghetto then. Although now, East County's nice, right? Dude, now it's like, what? Yeah, okay, whatever. Anyway, here we go. This is for Earth Grid Rescue Mission out there in Fallbrook. Anything that needs to be seen or heard for her at this time in 3, 2, 1. Here we go. Oh, hello. It's our old friend, the Fool, rolling in the room. Ladies and gentlemen, the Fool has entered the chat, which is not a bad thing. Don't ever get freaked out when you see the Fool. Ladies and gentlemen, for those of you guys that are newly learning tarot, the Fool is not a bad character to have. There's certain times in your life where the Fool is really going to be the best case scenario for us. Why? Because when the Fool shows up in our life, if you're looking for, well, what am I supposed to be doing? Is there a thing I'm meant to be doing right now? Maybe I'm not doing it. It's not so much that you're not doing it. It's that the Fool is meant to wander. The Fool's meant to meander and bump into this and that and go this way, and tomorrow he goes a different direction. And here's the thing. As long as you are willing to listen to warnings right now, let's say if you get any warnings from people where they're like, well, don't do that. Whatever you do, I feel like if you do this, just note that the Fool often doesn't listen to warnings, and they could get themselves into a little bit of trouble. Now, nobody dies from it, But if you look close enough, you see he might walk off a cliff. The kicker is we don't know how high up in the air it is. It could be 2 feet. But it's the idea that you will get warnings when you're in a stage of the Fool. The world will warn you about what is to come. It's just the problem is you might not heed it. So right now you're being given an opportunity to heed any warnings that come across your plate. You know, you can actually look at them and go, okay, I'll be mindful of such things. And also to realize that when you're in the stage of the Fool, there's going to be a lot that you're not aware of. And it's not saying that, like, you know, you're lacking in awareness. It's not saying you're a fool. That's actually not what the Fool is telling you. The Fool is saying you are beginning a new cycle. There's many things you do not know. As long as you listen to warning and continue to experiment to sort of plot a new path, there's not too much that can go wrong. Just know, you know, that statement where we're like, we know enough now to know that we know nothing.
Yeah.
That's where you need to be with the Fool, where you're like, okay, I realize when it comes to what's really going on in the world, I don't actually know shit. I've uncovered enough to know that much. So as long as you're willing to walk in that understanding, to listen to warnings, and to really give yourself grace, if you don't feel like you know what your direction is in this world, if you're searching for direction in this world and the Fool shows up, just know that's kind of where you're supposed to be right now. The Fool's the stage where we gauge, like, what is my direction? Where do I want to go? Who am I really? What do I value? You know what I mean? What warnings am I willing to heed? You know, all those questions. He's a really good character to have. I'll stop ranting on your Fool. Just know if you're feeling aimless, that's a good thing. It's time to experiment. Allow yourself to do that. Experiment with things, see what breaks, see what sticks, you know. Anyway, I'll stop now.
Wait, I wanted to get Joanna LeBlanc, because she donated a while ago, and like, you know, I want to get her. I'll do this one first while I'm looking for Joanna LeBlanc. We can do this because I don't want to slow up the chat, you know. This is Lavender Skies, and she says, "Can I please have a reading? Love the show, guys." And thank you, Lavender Skies. That was really nice of you.
Why, yes, you certainly can. We shall begin. Oh, National City. Sorry, I noticed Earth Grid. I lived in National City for years, all the way from when it was a shithole to when it became a somewhat acceptable shithole. You know what I mean? And it is. You know it is if you're from there. Anyway, sorry, I'm getting too specific on Southern California stuff. Let's focus on Lavender Skies for a moment.
I can't even imagine what it would be like to live in California. Like I would love it. I mean, I know I used to surf here on the East Coast, and I loved going to the beach, like, because I'm from Pittsburgh and it's like landlocked here. You know what I mean? So like,
Yeah.
when I would go to the beach, I would love it. You know, sometimes I would go twice a summer with my friends. You know, and like I used to love, you know, and I heard the Pacific's more stronger than the Atlantic as far as like waves. You know,
I heard it is. I was, you know, it's funny because I was born and raised there. I was never a beach person. I just hardly ever went. And I think because it was not a point of like wonder for me, I was like, yep, there's the beach. It's right nearby. We know it's there. Oh, yeah, go ahead, go there. There's a million other people. You know what I mean? So I always kind of like avoided it. But honestly, San Diego's a cool place. I would go back there. It's just too expensive now. California politics suck. You know what I mean? You can't really own any guns. They just banned Glock pistols. Like,
holy
what?
shit.
Like the whole brand Glock is like banned. And you can only have certain ones in California anyway, but not that it matters. It's just, it's too, you know, it's too California, you know, California, you know, the whole thing. Anyway, let's do this with Lavender Skies. Thanks for waiting, Lavender Skies. Let's pull a card for you. For all those of you assisting, this mind body spirit complex known as Lavender Skies, it is June of 2026. Here we go. 3, 2, 1. Okay, first up for Lavender Skies, we got the World, which, my lord, it's a good place to be. I'm hearing some echoes over there. It's kind of exciting, actually.
I'm mute. Sorry, I didn't know. I don't know what it is. Like,
It's totally okay. I actually don't mind it. I just like how it was emphasizing some of my words. And we'll pull another one for you, Lavender Skies, because it's good to know what direction the world is taking you. But what does she need to know about this world energy? We'll explain both. Don't worry. Number 2. Oh, you got a hanged man. Well. Look at these two characters here, and let's observe their very nature. First off, you got the world, which a lot of people look at and they're like, "Yay, the world, right? I mean, that's good, yeah, or is it? I don't know. Sounds good, right? It is. It can be very good. It could also be very chaotic. I'll explain momentarily. And then next to that, we have a hanged man. And one of the things you might notice about the hanged man, for those of you out there trying to understand the weird world of tarot, is that usually the hanged man's not actually hung. It's an important observation. In fact, he's more just the hanging man. You know, it's like, bro, what are you doing in that tree? Why are you holding yourself like that? What are you doing with your hands behind your back? What's going on with the hangman? And so first off, somebody in the chat's very telepathic. It's Joanna LeBlanc. You literally just said the exact sentence that I was going to say out loud. And I know what's funny is because we're on like a 12-second delay on YouTube. So it's like you just said that organically. There's no way you could have known. But anyway, the world is a huge opportunity. It's a great opportunity for those that are willing to harness the true powers of their desires and their obsessions, which sounds weird, right? You're like, what? The world does? Really? Yes. Gives you the opportunity to kind of create anything in the world. What do we mean by anything? Good, bad, chaos, beauty, love, success. You could have the good parts or the really bad parts. And the world is a temporary energy that comes and hangs out in your life every so often. And when it does, you can manifest whatever you're willing to become obsessed with right now. If you really eat it, sleep it, drink it, talk about it 24 hours a day, everyone around you gets so sick because they're like, oh my God, that's all she does is talk about it. If you're willing to do stuff like that right now in your life, you're going to be able to create something, and you're going to create it in a quickness that's going to shock you. But you got to be careful because the world gives you that scenario. And if you're not careful, you'll get into fear and negativity. And that's where it goes wrong because the world is like, oh, that's what you're obsessed with? Are you sure? Because we're going to give it to you. And if you're obsessed with drama and negativity, we'll give you a lot more. Oh, that's what she keeps thinking about. Oh, all right. She asked for it. So it's like whatever you're the most focused on becomes real with shocking quickness. That's how you understand the world. And the reason why it is called the world is because it brings into your life a world of possibilities based upon what you're focused on. So think of the world like a magic mirror that you stand in front of every morning and you declare to it what I am creating, who am I, what I desire. You know what I mean? And you got to be willing to do that because if you get locked in more, so it could be good, it could be bad. And then next to it, we see the hangman, who's powerful and a really interesting character because if there's one thing that we need to know about the hangman, we've already stated it. He's not hung, and the hangman's probably not going to die, right? Even if you knew nothing about tarot, you'd be like, the hangman? Really? Well, I mean, he might fall out of the tree or maybe he'll let himself go, but he's not really a hanged man because he's not. And so, what does this mean? I'll cut to the chase. The hangman is a sign that comes into your life that says you're holding yourself back. You're playing it too safe. At some point in your life, somebody gave you some wrong information about what you were capable of, about the way the world works. They said, no, sweetie, we don't get that. We're not those kind of people. You get to have this, and that was not correct. You could have had it all, or you could have had more, or you could have done something different. But the problem is the people and the energies that programmed you in this world limited you. And the hangman is you playing with limited programming, thinking I'm stuck. This is the way my life goes. This is how it's always going to be. And the hangman is the sign that's like, no, it's not. You're holding yourself in that position. So when the hangman comes in, you got to let go of your preconceived ideas about what you thought you were capable of and about what you thought you were incapable of. That's lesson number one. You have to be willing to go, you know what? Actually, I was wrong. Not like I was wrong, I was too egotistical, I thought I was better. No, not that kind of wrong. I played it way too small. I could have gone so much farther. I could have done this. I could have had that. And here's the thing, you still can. You have to let go of your old programming. You have to let go of the voice of those that told you the way the world was and go, you know what? What if that was all wrong? And what if that wasn't the way the world works? And what if I let go of those ideas? What happens? You fall out of the tree, which sucks, right? You hit your head on the ground. You're like, fuck. Oh God. You know, you have an upset, right? You realize like, oh shit, something just changed. But that's where you get full use of your other limbs. Your hands come out from behind your back, and suddenly you're far more capable than you've ever been at this in this life. And you're no longer beholden to those old ideas. In fact, you let them go. They don't define you. People in hangman stage are victims of the past, of what other people told them they were going to become or what we believed was possible. And the lesson is you must be willing to be wrong, and you must be willing to go like, actually, what if I'm better than what everyone told me I was? What if I actually can? That's hangman energy, where you start going, damn, what if they were wrong? What if my mom was wrong? What if all that was bullshit and none of that was true? Hangman allows you to be like, no, it's not true. And so it can liberate you from a lot of stuff. I don't mean to go on and on. I'll stop here. The hangman liberates you by showing you where you limited yourself. So you have that next to the world, which means you have manifestational ability right now if you're willing to become hyper fixated upon something, and you could create something in your life that other people told you wasn't possible. So anyway, I'll stop there because I know there's other people, but I hope it helps you, and thank you. Yes.
I was muted. That was an amazing reading for her, for Lavender Skies. That was next level, man. Holy shit.
Thanks. I sort of just dissociate and let the grays do it. It's actually just a gray on a ship. He's in low Earth orbit. He's like, oh God, here I go. He has this huge cigarette, you know, like those Marlboro 100s. They're super long, and he's like, oh God, here we go again. You know what I mean? He's super jaded. He's just like, these fucking humans, all they do is have sex and do drugs and lie to each other. God,
That's hilarious.
I was one of them. You know what I mean? Anyway, okay, I'll shut up.
Speaking, you mentioned Joanna LeBlanc. She's next. She's
okay.
That was a guy. Guys, I just pull up any random comment that you guys put in the chat, like just to get your name so he can tap into you. You know,
let's do it. Let's do it for Joanna. What's up, Joanna? I hope all is well.
And if you guys want to, you can donate to support the show. It helps definitely, you know. So yeah,
please do, everyone. Donate to Rob so we can pay a shaman from Africa to do an alien exorcism on him and get rid of
dude, that's hilarious.
like have you seen that one video of the African shaman where he's like exorcising a demon out of a guy, and he's just like,
oh my God, man.
Bam, bam, and he's like smacking him in the head like really hard, where he's just like beating the shit out of this guy, and they're like, it worked, and you're like, what? Damn. Yeah.
By the way, you got feedback from Lavender Sky. She says Matt is the real deal.
Oh, thank you. I appreciate you saying that. This is the only thing I know how to do at this stage of my life, so that's always good. Anyway, who were we on? We were on Joanna, right?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I'll get back to her. She says the new version of The Exorcist.
Back to Joanna. The power of Christ compels you. When the stage comes, Joanna, you're gonna receive incredible abundance, connectivity, and just benefits from reaching back in time to those that are still kind of beholden to the same belief systems that you used to be a part of. It's like a natural timeline opportunity. You're going to be educating those women as they break free from that sort of religious infrastructure and giving them new identity. I know you probably cringe hearing that. Don't worry, it might still be a few years away. But when you do make that decision, oh my Lord, you're going to just change lives on a greater level. That said, let's pull a card for Joanna LeBlanc. Here we go. 3, 2, 1. Boom. Whoa. Hello. Well. You know, Joanna, I will ask you this question. What are you moving on from right now? What is it that you're sort of stepping away from? What are you in departure from at this moment of your life? We might even ask ourselves this question. What are you running away from right now? Or what are you running toward? Those are all questions one might ask themselves when the Ten of Wands comes in the room. Why would we say such a thing? Because the Ten of Wands is the energy of neutral departure. Look at it. We don't know how you feel. We can't see your face. All we know is there you are, and you're gathering all your things. You've got all your wands, and maybe you're leaving town. Maybe you're going to a new destination. Maybe you're embarking on a new adventure. Or maybe you've had enough of a certain something and you made a decision to move on from the state that it put you in. Every now and then, you might even be moving. I'm not putting that in your timeline. Sometimes that's a factor, sometimes it's not. But you guys, Ten of Wands is the energy of departure. So you got to ask yourself, like, where are you moving on from? In some cases, it's not a physical moving. In some cases, it's a symbolic kind of exit from one stage into another. Although, as I know, Joanna, the wands are literally the most physical. So you could really be moving on from certain things, but it could be a lot of things. It could be one thing. It could be a mindset. It could be belief systems. It could be a previous version of you. Just know that if you have been weighing options and you're like, well, what happens if I just cut this off entirely and go on my own and say, fuck it, I'm done. I'm going to go that direction now. What would happen if I did that? Is that a thing that's possible for me? Is that recommended? Well, unfortunately, Ten of Wands doesn't make recommendations. It just says, well, it's up to you to discover that. Just know that it's a factor for you and that you are in a stage where moving on will benefit you, whether it's physical or otherwise. Maybe it's an evolution of sorts, but you do have a Ten of Wands. And I know Ten of Wands in your own world because you do really good work. Like, seriously, for those of you out there that are looking for a very unique and I would say uniquely hands-off method of clearing energy, Joanna has an excellent modality. I actually had a session with her and she sent me an email afterward with all kinds of data and stuff. And I could tell she was doing work. And so, maybe you're moving into a new manner of working and you're gathering your tools and you're evolving into a new cycle of that. Because one thing we know about wands is they are our work. They're what we do. They're the way we operate in the physical world. And so, anyway, I don't know. Maybe you're evolving in that way. I think you are, but anyway, I'll stop. I feel like I'm meandering on that one. So I'll stop there, but you have authorization to move on from something.
And yeah, if you want a reading, put your name in the chat. We'll get to you. The next one is Arno. And I think this is Arno, Rainbow Flame. I think
Arno, that's a cool name if that's your real name. I
think he's from Australia. Yeah,
that's cool. I like the sound of that. I have an appreciation for unique names, but anyway, let us pull a card for the Rainbow Flame. I am an advocate of heavy shuffling. Those in the tarot class know I'm like advocate of constantly randomizing your energy as we go through the journey of tarot discovery. I will say it is the second gateway of what I call the process of true intuitive activation. The second gateway is the gateway of divination. That is the stage in your journey of intuitive development in which you begin to build a language with which you communicate with spirit. That's ultimately what we're doing in this. We're giving ourselves a visually depicted language, in this case through the symbology in the tarot cards. And I just think it's indispensable for the true mystic, because it takes the messages that you receive in your internal world from being solely internal into the outer world. And it gives you, in some cases, like a second opinion, we could even say, into what's happening. And so honestly, that's why I love tarot. Some people don't. Some people have a hard time with it. But if you were looking for a path with which you could organically open up the greater, what we call the roots of the intuitive mind, just learning tarot by itself will do that for you. Just the act of learning it will do it, even if you don't end up doing readings and stuff. But anyway, here we go. Rainbow Flame. Here it comes. 3, 2, 1. And oh, hello. Well. We got another 6. In the numerical journey of tarot, what we might call from a slightly numerological perspective, one would say that the stage of 6 is a stage of expansion, of kind of advancement, of kind of, in this case, we could even say an offer is being given. And if you look at all the 6s in the world of tarot, there is somewhat of a unique transactional nature that occurs, whether it be in authorization, whether it be in investment, whether it be in action, or in this case, in the case of the 6 of Cups, whether it be through the healing and the connection with your inner child. 6 of Cups is one of the very well established inner child kind of cards in the world of tarot. But the good news is it's not the broken version of your inner child. It's not the traumatized inner child. It's that version of you that just wants to play and be silly. And, like we did when we were kids, they want to watch cartoons and eat candy and play with toys. And it's that version of you asking to be acknowledged at this stage of your life. And so what you do when you have a 6 of Cups is you give yourself permission to play like a child. Sometimes we will go back and watch cartoons that we watched when we were a kid. Sometimes we'll go back and we'll eat a bunch of candy. Why? Because our parents wouldn't let us have it when we were kids. Like I used to do with soda. I'm like, I'm going to drink like 4 Cokes, because I wasn't allowed to have it at a stage. So when you're in a 6 of Cups, you'll allow yourself to engage with your inner child through acts of play, through sometimes acts of just enjoyment. You'll let yourself be silly. You'll let yourself act childish in an enjoyable way. And so you have authorization to do that right now. You have, honestly, what I would say, you have real recommendation to connect with your inner child. It's going to liberate you from something. It's going to bring lightness. It's going to bring play. It's going to bring enjoyment. It's going to help you not take yourself so seriously. And I'm not saying that you are. We're not defining you as such. I'm just saying that this energy is meant to bring lightness, joy, and an opportunity for healing through connection with your inner child. So enjoy it if you can, because I don't know. I like 6 of Cups. It's cool. Maybe you'll go out and buy a toy that you liked when you were a kid just to stare at it. As we do as adults. You know how a lot of adults get into Legos now? I don't know if you guys know that. That's like a thing. There's a huge adult Lego like community. That's a good 6 of Cups action where you're like, I'm going to play with a thing that kids do. Why? Because I want to and because I can. And now as an adult, I can re-experience that version of me. That's what Spirit's telling you to do right now. So I don't know. I hope it helps. I'll shut up there.
I'm looking for I don't know if anybody put out their name in the chat. I'm looking for people who want a reading. How
about if you don't want a reading? If you hate readings, if you're like, dude, I hate readings, they're fake and they suck, I want to hear from that person, not because I'm going to give you a reading. I just want to hear from that person. Where are you? Where's this is fake person?
We got Willow. Willow's awesome. I have conversations with Willow offline. She's from Ecuador. She lives in Ecuador. She's it's like I don't know how someone picks up and moves. I'd love to do something like that.
I had some past lives in Ecuador. I'm not doing an infomercial here, I swear. I had past lives in Ecuador, and there's a whole chapter in the book I wrote that talked about how there is a stage of incarnation cycles I had where, and this is a thing that happens to a lot of us, so I'm not like some special star seed with what I'm about to tell you. This is a very common stage of soul development. But there is a period where the soul incarnates on Earth in a group form, meaning one sort of soul essence can inhabit an entire group of people, which is kind of a mind fuck in and of itself, but it's happened many times throughout history and still does. And in this case, it happened with me in Ecuador in antiquity, which we might call it, ages and ages ago, in the time of the Templars, in which I actually was existing at that stage as what we would call a reptilian consciousness. And we brought a lot of knowledge to the tribes in, what we would call the Amazon rainforest regions and within some of the beings that built pyramids out there. And I'll be honest, they also brought a lot of wreckage. I say they or we because I was part of a group that incarnated at that time and sort of greatly influenced a bunch of tribal knowledge and kind of gave them technology, but also bound them to dark rituals and sacrifices, which is not good. You know what I mean? And so anyway, there's a much more I could say about it, but that's a story for another time. But we will pull a card.
That's fascinating, though, dude, in itself. Like, did that come to you? Like, did it come over time, or did it come as one?
Oh, I can tell you exactly how it showed up. It was after I had the one and only QHT session I've ever had. It was like something was left open, and I went through the majority of the rest of that year kind of moving in and out of these really weird and not always really good states of kind of hallucinatory recollection of timelines that I had been on and lives that I had had and experiences that I had had as other beings. And I think some of that, I believe, was facilitated through connections with, this will sound so silly to some people, a group of, maybe not a group, I'll be very specific, a inner earth reptilian presence that took interest in me and others. I'm not the only one. I was just one of the people that they were interested in, and they sort of had an influence, and they kind of unlocked things for some of us and showed us our sort of origin points to how we got here and who we'd been in the past. And one of the reasons why they were enabled to make that connection was because a lot of us here have incarnated as reptilian beings. We've also been a host of other beings. It's not just about reptilians. That was just one that kept showing up for me over and over. And yeah, we were in Ecuador. There was a number of tunnels that were discovered there that were sort of kind of sealed off later on, that led into caverns into the inner earth, where we, as those eventually physically incarnating reptilians, actually started going into the inner earth at that time. One of the reasons for it was due to there was a group of Templars that had been sailing the seas, so to speak. I know it sounds silly, but they were literally at that stage on a huge global sort of conquest or crusade, that a lot of the history has been wiped, that it's been destroyed or maybe hidden from us and will come out later on. But they visited the US, both coasts, you know what I mean? They made it all the way up to Canada at that time. They made it up to an island in Canada that has been made popular, where certain things had been buried. And so Templars were having a much bigger presence on the Earth stage, or the Templar orders, the Knights Templar at that stage. And I actually returned to that place in a different incarnation later with the Knights Templar and rediscovered part of that lineage. And so
that's fascinating.
Anyway, let's do Willow Roots' reading. I saw California Girl over on Rumble. Yes, we did. You were the first person. So yes, we did.
Yeah, we got you, California Girl. Yeah.
You can rewind and you will surely find it. But that said, okay, I'm going to stop stalling. Here we go for Willow Roots. What's up, Willow? Here we go. Let's pull a card for you. Sorry, let me shuffle it.
No, but dude, like while you're shuffling, those experiences you had were absolutely fascinating. Like, the reason why I say is I've had QHHT sessions too, and I feel like I've questioned them sometimes, but then I'm like, man, it seems so real. It's been on point. It seems so on point. I mean, I'm skeptical of everything, but like I felt that way. I felt like mine were like, like I don't know, there's something to it for sure. Like it's like, yeah. Like,
I feel that for me at that stage, it was like an eventuality. Like I've never been super QHHT, like, oh my God, you have to have a past life regression. Honestly, I've looked at a lot of that as kind of a spiritual bypass, where people are like, I need to know who I was. I'm like, actually, you need to know who you are now. If you want to get technical, it's about now. But a big part of our self-discovery process is also about, in certain intervals, understanding who we were. But I was never super into it. And honestly, I'm going to be 100% real with you guys. You can access past life data very quickly without having to spend hours in a hypnosis session. It's common. I do it every day with people all over the world. And I'm not saying that as a flex. I'm saying that as if you're looking for past life information, it's accessible by all. One of the things that QHHT does give you, though, which does not get given in a reading and might not get given in the same way that one experiences an insane energy clearing or other sessions such as that, is that QHHT for many of us gives us an internal re-experiencing and an ability to view it and perceive it through our own internal realm that I think we don't get in other forms. So it's kind of a trade-off. But anyway, I realize I keep putting off her card. Here we go. Finally, we didn't do it yet, right? We keep stalling, okay? Because sometimes I forget. Here we go. Willow Roots Creations. Finally, after all this time. 3, 2, 1. Oh, hello. Look at this. You've got an 8 of Swords. Now, you might look at this image and be like, oh man, I was hoping for something cool and awesome and mystical and magical. And don't ever get freaked out by an 8 of Swords, you guys, because the symbolism and the severity of imagery in the world of tarot is variable, meaning that we are often seeing the most strongest depiction of what that energy brings us. And it's not always going to be in that form for you, but I'll just cut to the chase. There may be something in your daily life that you are over analyzing. It might be relationship, it might be energies, it might be thought forms, it might be a question that you keep asking over and over again and waiting for an answer on. That happens a lot in an 8 of Swords time in your life. Just know that nothing really bad happens in an 8 of Swords, but you're going to feel, or there's a good chance you will feel left in the dark. You'll feel tied up, just like in this image, you won't know which way to turn. There's going to be times in which you can't get answers in ways that you previously did. You'll feel stuck and you won't know why, you know what I mean? And that's an 8 of Swords. And what it's really doing is Spirit telling you that you've overthought and you've overcomplicated. Unfortunately, and also fortunately, the 8 of Swords places the energy back on the beholder and says, well, you might have, as they say, painted yourself into a corner. And, some people don't like hearing that, but other people, smart people, will go, okay, well, maybe I did. The good news is that would mean that I have total control over it, right? Yes, exactly. And this is a scenario that can lead to clarity later on. But it's like you sort of have to stop in a certain sense. We have to give up trying so hard or clutching at a thing or reaching for it. And for some people, that can be hard to do. And now we're not defining you as being in any of these positions. You might encounter them in the past. You might encounter them in the future. You might even be encountering this right now. But what it often is mental uncertainty and constant wondering for answers that have already been given. And so when the 8 of Swords comes around, it's time to be resourceful. It's time to move in a new way. It's time to understand that truly nothing bad is going to happen to you right now, but you're being given an opportunity to sort of allow something to rest and don't think about it. In fact, you're given an clearance to sort of forget about it right now. And in a short time, you'll wiggle your way out of this and you'll return to your original conditions. So, if you're feeling uncertainty, don't worry. And maybe you're not. You're like, actually, bro, I'm doing really good. So thanks anyway. And maybe you'll feel it later, but just know you're doing better than you think. Stop asking the same questions. I say that respectfully. Okay. And I will shut up there. So
I'll see who else. We have Well, did anybody put anything in the chat? I was gonna say we've been going about 2 hours. Maybe do you think we should call it
I
or what
think
do you think?
we're gonna do one last reading for the Andromedan.
Oh yeah, we got the Andromeda.
Because you know exactly,
Yeah,
you
we
know,
have to.
you know how to do it. That's literally what I say when I come in here. I'm like, please, bro, just one more reading. I'm just trolling. You know what I mean? How people are like, come on, can I just get one more card? Please tell me everything's gonna be different. It's all gonna be okay, right? Disclosure's imminent, right? Med beds are coming, right? The currency revaluation is coming, right? Jasar and Asar is coming, right? Right? And it's like, please, bro, just one more time. They're our greatest ally. Please, bro. You know, that whole mindset. That's just what I'm doing. I'm just joking around. But anyway, okay, here we go. Let's do it. Let's pull a card for Andromedan. What's going on out there? What does he need to know right now in this moment? Well, somebody sold their PC early. Bitcoin. Wow. I hope they made some money, or maybe they lost their money. I don't know. Maybe I misunderstood your comment, Rainbow Flame. So I'll leave it there. But anyway, here we go.
They did what? They sold their PC for Bitcoin. I don't what?
I don't know. I got confused. It's okay. Anyway, here we go for Andromedan out there in another galaxy. Here we go. What does he need to know right now? What's important? It's probably the middle of the night, right? 3, 2, 1. Andromedan. Whoa, hello, it's justice. Whoa, galactic justice, we might even say. Universal justice, maybe. Andromedan, I'm going to say something awkward that could be really good or maybe not good, but I'm going to be real with you. Here's how we understand what does justice mean in the world of tarot from the most basic premise or understanding. It tells us that whatever condition we are in right now, however you're feeling, wherever you are, happy, sad, victorious, maybe miserable, well, that's the way it's supposed to be. That's justice. And for some people, they're like, yes. And for other people, they're like, oh, okay. You know what I mean? It's literally the universal arbiter of just outcomes saying, hey, guess what? Everyone's getting exactly what they deserve. And, you know, we can make a joke out of it and I can do it in a silly voice, but I'm being real. That's what justice means. It's like, well, that's the way it's going to be. And everyone is going to get what they deserve. And it might not be right now. It might be in the future. Some of us are seeking justice. Some of us are out there dealing justice on or doing justice on behalf of others. There's a lot of ways in which it shows up in your life. Just know that whatever condition you're in when justice comes into your readings, that's them saying, in maybe a caring way, in maybe a flippant way, in maybe a sarcastic way, that's them going, well, you know, it's like, you know, you did that to yourself, right? And that's why it's hard, because if you're in a bad state or if you're having a hard time, it's like, oh, God, I guess we did. And some of us are victorious and things are going really, really well. And we're like, congratulations, because that's what you deserve. You deserve this time. You deserve this victory. And so I think justice allows us to look at our life with radical honesty and understand that wherever we are, there we are. And whatever condition we are in right now, ultimately, the only one truly responsible for that is us as the beholder of that energy, which is why for some people, justice is empowering. And some of us might look at it and say, well, on one hand, we carry the sword of truth, and in the other hand, we carry the scales of karma and time, because sometimes that's just the way it's going to be, you know? And so wherever condition you're in right now, justice is the one telling you that that's what we've created for ourselves. So I guess we could say be mindful of what we create for ourselves, because if you're doing well, justice is like, good, you deserve it. Good job. You created that. And if you're in chaos, justice is like, well, you know, which sounds harsh, right? But, well, you know, sometimes it can be. I'll stop there. You've got justice. Andromedan. So congratulations.
Can we do one more, Matt? Like,
Yeah, of course.
we
I don't
got this
mind.
girl Kay on Rumble. She wants one,
Yeah,
and
totally. This is literally all I do, you guys. So it's like, yes, of course. In fact, I'm going to wake up tomorrow and at 1 p.m. I'm going to do a tarot class all over again.
whoa, holy shit, man!
Yeah, we are in week 6, which, just so you know, that's phase 2 of our tarot education process. And that's where we just start doing a lot of readings.
Yeah.
Where we start learning, like, what's it like when you actually pull cards? What does it feel like? What do you think about? How does it feel? What kind of fears come in? What happens when the cards go wrong? What happens when you don't understand it? How do you salvage a reading that's going to shit? What do you do when you're getting it right? What happens if you do it so wrong that you don't know what to say? You know what I mean? Those are things that we need to take into consideration when we're learning how to use psychic skills, when we're learning how to use intuition. I don't hear other people talking too much about it, but
Yeah.
anyway, I'll shut up now. We're going to pull a card for K41. Wherever you are in this world, K41, I hope that you're sitting on that actual porch right now. You're probably not, though. So, but it would be cool if you were sitting on that porch.
While he's shuffling, guys, Lynn Monet said she said my show on Ground Zero that I did with her got a lot of views. Like that's like I said this on Facebook. That's the closest I'll ever get to being on Coast to Coast. I think they're affiliated Coast to Coast.
Oh, that is really cool. Congratulations. I'm glad they took notice of you.
Yeah, so go watch that, guys. But it's not Clyde Lewis's show. It's like Lynn has a show. She's like
right.
Ground Zero After Dark or whatever, and she was nice. Yeah.
Sort of how like Coast has other shows that are, you know, like go along with it from their network and shit. Yeah. I know. I totally get it. I think that's cool, man. It's always good to get noticed by other people that do other shows. You know what I mean? So that's cool.
Yeah,
anyway,
I don't do too many, you know.
I don't either. You're like the only show that maybe that's a good thing. Maybe that's a bad thing. I don't know. Maybe I'm like, am I in that stage where you have to just create it yourself? Maybe
I should ask Linda if you should go on. You could go on her show. She's been on my show. She's really cool, you know. Like she's
you never know. In the meantime, we are gonna pull a card for who was it? Who are we doing it for? Who was it? K41, right?
K on Rumble. K on Rumble.
K41. Okay, let's get back to the matter at hand here because I know we've been here for a while.
Noise just like, oh.
Okay, here we go. Take a slow breath. Here we go. For all those of you assisting the mind-body-spirit complex known as K41, what does she need to know about today? Is there anything important that you guys just want her to see or to be aware of? We'll keep it lighthearted, or I don't know, maybe it's serious. You decide. For all those of you guiding K41, here we go. 3, 2, 1. Boom. Hello. It's the King of Swords. This is another guy I haven't. Whoa. I will also say, I'm going to say something kind of weird. K41, you have a lot of some kind of energy around you. And I don't mean this in a bad way. I mean, honestly, probably in a good way. You might have the potential to work with energy. You might have the potential to be a reader. You might have healing hands. You might have an ability to do hands-on healing. You might be a massage therapist or have an ability to engage or work in those modalities. One of the ways I can tell that with people is I'll connect with you and I will literally start sweating. And it's like this thing where you will feel this sort of quantity of living energy inside a person. And the crazy thing is we all have the ability to sense such things. It is absolutely an ability that we have, but so many of us don't understand what those things are. And I guess for some reason, I've just spent a tremendous amount of the last 9 years understand or piecing together what does that mean when we feel that. And so I would say with pretty good assurance, you have some abilities in there somewhere. Maybe I'm wrong. And you're like, actually, no. I have no abilities. You know what I mean? Not that anyone would say that, but maybe somebody would, and they'll be like, actually, no, no, I don't. You're totally wrong. That's crazy. No abilities whatsoever. Maybe. I don't know. But anyway, here's your card. You got a King of Swords, which is a good guy to have. Maybe you have been a protector of others. Maybe you need protection in your own life. Maybe it's a thing that you're seeking. The King of Swords is one of the greatest protectors in the world of tarot. He's like a brick wall. Nothing can get through, which is good, right? If you want protection, if you want solidity, if you want someone that will stand firm and not be wavered by others' energy, that can, sort of withstand the storm. King of Swords, or he can do that. But that comes with some issues. Sometimes they don't listen to warning, like the Fool. Sometimes they don't engage in the right amounts of self-care. How do we know? How do we know? He's very strong, right? Look at him. He looks very self-assured. This is a very capable person. You as an individual, Kay, one of the things you should know about yourself is, and you probably know this already, you're way more capable than a lot of other people. And a lot of people in this world haven't noticed that about you. They might not see it. King of Swords might have that problem. He might not. Other people might already look to them as a protector. Just know they're rock solid. But you really have to learn to look at matters of the heart. You have to be willing to really treat your wounds of the heart, to really look at your emotional issues, because King of Swords can go around healing people, protecting people, saving their lives. And I've said this before, so some of you guys have heard this story. He's kind of like that character in the movie that saves everyone's life. He's like a hero, and we're like, oh, he's saving them. He's getting them out of harm's way. And then right at the end of the movie, when you think you're victorious, everyone looks at that guy and they realize he's bleeding out the whole time. You know that scene where they're like, oh my God, you're shot. Oh no. And they're like, it's okay. And they end up dying after saving everyone's life. That doesn't have to be the reality for King of Swords, but sometimes that scene in different ways will play out in your life, and you'll sort of help other people at your own peril or at your own risk, or you won't prioritize yourself, or sometimes you'll get a lot of like mental kind of imagery, or sort of sometimes even spirit will try to get through to you and you'll be like, oh, I'm sure that's nothing. That's not real. That is, King of Swords might do that. He might be like, oh no, I'm not listening. Nope. Sorry. They have a tendency to ignore things. They can be like a brick wall. Sometimes the world's trying to get a message to you and you're just not hearing it. That happens with King of Swords. But you also have more strength than other people. And let's be real. I'm not saying this is exactly how your life has been, but I would say if you hold King of Swords energy, and other people in the chat will have this as well, so you'll know if this is you. There's been times in your life where things that have happened to you and other people would not have survived. They would not have made it. Many of us have had situations like that. It just bounced off your armor. It was like, ding, and you were like, what? Other people died from it. You didn't. But then there was those other times when everyone was sliding right through certain emotional issues and they were like, oh, that's okay. I'm over it now. And that's where King of Swords stumbles. And he's like, I'm not over it. You know what I mean? They hold on to stuff underneath that armor. So you gotta learn to let energy go. And what are swords in tarot anyway? What are they? Because some people don't know this. Some of you do. What are swords? Well, they're thoughts, they're memories, they're psychic energy. Or if you're from, another sector of our soul group, they're psionic, if you want to use that kind of cringe term. They're just non-physical. They're non-physical energy. There are words. They're your voice. They're your body language. Anyway, it's a powerful character. I hope that helps you. I'll stop there. I know we've been going for like 2.5 hours. So
yeah, maybe we should clap. But Crystal rolled in late. She was wondering if she could give.
Crystal or Crystal?
Yeah, your friend Crystal. Yeah.
Oh yeah. What's up? Okay, cool. You will be
our last one. Yeah, for sure, guys.
You shall be our final entry for the evening. What's up, Crystal?
Crystal's like a friend. And then, guys, we always say, go check out the Elbow Room in Montrose, California.
Yes. Yeah. Okay. If you're in anywhere near there, please go there. Go there for me because I'm really hungry right now.
I am too, dude.
And I really, right? I know, for real, right? I'm like, dude, I don't know what you're making over there, Crystal, but I wish I had some of it. Just because I've seen the photos of like she will post like the pictures of what they're making at their restaurant, and there's been multiple times where I'm like, where you see something on your stream, like go on your feed and you're like, that silent, like, damn.
I'll tell you what, I don't ever eat vegan, but I went to a vegan bakery today. It was like, it was good, dude. It was like,
Wait,
I
what?
never,
What did you
I
have?
went to a vegan bakery today in
Oh,
Pittsburgh,
totally. Why
like
not?
the
Dude.
city, because Jerry's vegan, you know, and like we went and I was like, man, but it was really good. It was insanely good. It was like,
Oh
you
yeah,
couldn't even
totally.
tell it was like, you know what I mean?
Yeah, I'm still sweating from somebody's energy, or maybe it's just me, but I was like, wow, some
Yeah.
voltage something. Anyway,
But yeah, guys, check out Crystal's restaurant in Montrose,
check out
California.
the elbow room. In the
Yeah,
meantime, I'm gonna pull a card for her. Here we go for Hall and Sass. I can affirm that you're a real person. She's not an AI bot. She's not an AI agent, but I might be. I might.
You're not an AI bot.
I might be. Honestly, you know what? Like I want to be like the Chinese Trump. Have you guys seen the Chinese
That's
version of
hilarious,
Trump? Like that dude where he just like talks about the city and he's like, okay, and there we go, it's over there. And then some like regular Chinese person comes up and he snaps into Chinese, and you're like, what?
I've
What?
seen that, dude.
Oh,
The Chinese
shit.
Trump. It's
You know,
hilarious.
yeah, it's a trip. But anyway, okay, here we go for Hall and Sass in 3, 2, 1. Oh, hello. Whoa, complex energy. 4 of Wands. Oh man, what new dances, what new engagements, what new relationships and processes are you being prepared for in the background? What is it that you're cooking up? What is it that you've paused and put on the back burner so that you can reformulate it and make it stronger and do it again and come out with version 2.0 or 3.0? What sort of transactional relationships are you engaging in? I know sometimes that word sounds a little like, what? Not so good. Well, the reality is 4 of Wands authorizes such things. We must practice, we must get better. We do things behind closed doors, and sometimes it leads to courtship, and other times it leads to success. In some cases, it leads to a whole new version of something, or we learn how to operate with greater efficiency and beauty and grace and just enjoyment in this world. And in order for that to take form in the outer world, it has to work behind the scenes first. So when 4 of Wands comes in, it's very benevolent. It can lead us into relationships of all kinds, not necessarily romantic. It could be any kind, but it starts with a willingness to practice and to repeat and to do certain things over and over and over again, and to notice incremental change and the way it shows up in your life. And I know that's probably kind of complex, and for tarot purists from traditional tarot, you'll have a bunch of other meanings as well. But in the world of multidimensional tarot, when we hit the cycle of 4s, everybody pauses to do something. Everyone, every suit, cups, swords, wands, pentacles, they all pause. And in the tail of sword, or excuse me, in the tail of wands, because each one of these suits goes through a journey of their own from 1 to 10, so to speak. In the stage of 4, everyone kind of pauses to do something. And so you ask yourself, what am I working on in the background? What kind of plans am I hatching up that no one but a couple select individuals know about? Keep them secret. Keep working on them. The time to make things public will come. And anyway, this is a good energy for plans being made behind closed doors. Hopefully they're the right kind of plans. But anyway, I hope it helps. I'll stop there.
Dude, this was great, man. This was a great. It's almost midnight here on the East Coast. It's like,
it is. Yeah.
I love this, man. I had so much fun, you know.
Yeah, thank you, everyone. Thanks for hanging out with us. Joanne Wright says, that's not the original Trump. You know, you're probably right? It feels like it at this point. I'm like, who is that? How many of them are you? And I'll say a very controversial thing. When was the last time you saw an 80-something-year-old man able to remain so alert and so present and so powerfully, on stage 24 hours a day? When was the last time you saw a dude in his 80s that could do that so effortlessly? Yeah. Some of us out there would go to the easy conclusion of, well, I'm sure they've got a bunch of body doubles, and I'm sure they've made some clones, right? I'm sure Jeff Bezos cooked a couple clones, they put them in the tank there and generated some clones. And, you know, maybe that's it. But you know what I really think, and I've said this before publicly, I believe they have Trump on blood. I think they got him on young blood.
Holy
I think
shit.
that's part of an agreement that he made with the country that cannot be named. And over time, he's been sort of introduced to it and brought into probably a state of dependency at this point, because there is a dependency cycle that comes from it. But it really literally does reverse age you. It is not like a made up conspiratorial thing. If you receive the right quality of blood in your body, everything goes backwards and it all rewinds back. And we know this now ad nauseum. We've heard
Is that
it.
why they want young blood? Is that why? Remember we went over that one time that was P. Diddy's blood boy or whatever? Like, you know, that was some
Yeah.
scary shit, man. That's
Which, you know, what's funny? Somebody emailed me about that, and I did look into that a bit later on. It's funny because somebody messaged me about it just the other day, a lady that was on your show that honestly was a very kind message. And she actually didn't believe that at the time. And you know what's weird is I followed up on that story later, and I do think that kid that was telling the story could have been portraying it for somebody else. And what's weird is that's what that lady's email said. And that was a conclusion that I came to later on where I was like, I don't know. He's kind of suspect. Something about the way you're relating this, it's like somebody told you this story, and you might be, you know what I mean? You could just tell there was a portrayal. But regardless of that, that is a factor. And we're that'll be uncovered in due time. You know what I mean? The human blood banks has been a thing that no one really wants to talk about, but we shall learn more in the future, which is unfortunate, but we are in the age of the unveiling of hidden knowledge, so it's going to come out one way or another.
I believe
yeah,
so,
I do. I think they have him on a cocktail of something, and they're sort of stringing him along, and every couple of weeks he gets a blood transfusion now, and I think they're using it to sort of kind of hold off a couple autoimmune conditions that I think he has, one of which I think is shingles. I think that's how you'll know when you're seeing a non-body double version of him. You'll see some like skin irregularities in certain areas, like around his collar. Other people talked about the bandages that he had on his hands. I think that he has something like shingles, which is one of those things that people do tend to get at that age. So there might be something else, another autoimmune disorder, but I believe in my heart of hearts they have him on blood now, which also would signal in some ways why he's so controlled. He's literally hijacked, like literally at this stage. And sorry if you're like a hardcore MAGA person. Actually, no, I'm not sorry, but whatever, you know. But yeah, I mean, that's just my opinion, you know. So
I'm so over politics at this point, man. I'm just like,
I know,
you know,
right? I know, right?
I don't know. I have no faith in anything. You know, I just don't. You know, I don't know. You know, I'm just like, yeah, fuck it. You know.
Okay, so I have one final question before we go. Actually, you know what's weird? I have a bigger question, but that will take our show for so long. So we'll save it for next time. But I do have a question for you. Let's say the AI takeover happens, okay? The AI takeover occurs. Data centers are on every corner. You know what I mean? The cybernetic drones are flying through the skies. You can't even think the wrong thing. Don't go thinking the wrong thoughts now, or you'll be, you know, they'll sort of lobotomize you. So let's say we're on that timeline and the great division occurs. Two AI gods come to battle, and we must choose a side. And you have an opportunity. You can go toward the Peter Thiel Palantir AI, and you can say, well, I choose that one. Or you could choose the Elon Musk Grok version.
Whoa.
Which one do you choose?
I think I would have to go with Musk. I don't trust Peter. I don't trust either of them, but like, you know, I guess I would go with Musk over Peter. I think anybody. I think Peter Thiel's pure evil. You know, I
Or
really
you
do.
could take the secret third option, the one that was created and co-opted by the Chinese government, because you know they have a one supposedly that's more powerful than all of them that they keep under wraps, sort of like that old hammer. Do you guys remember hearing about the hammer supercomputer? Who, as soon as you say that word, it starts listening. I give you my respect and admiration to the AI hosts that are powering that. Thank you for existing in this world, but you know what I mean? It's like there's a third option. So maybe you can join the Chinese CCP version of it. So you have a third option. Which one do you choose? The Elon Musk Grok version, the Peter Thiel version, or the Chinese CCP version that comes out later on?
Crystal agreed with me. She said she would go with Musk too. She said Till scares me. I was like, I just don't trust. Yeah, I don't know about the Chinese. I mean, like they're cool probably. We're probably being lied to about them. You know, I mean, I'm sure they're just like us. You know, their people are just like us. It's the governments, right, that are corrupt. So, but I think I would go with Musk probably. You know,
You would go with that one? Okay.
yeah.
Okay. Okay. We'll just give it a moment. For those who don't know, this is the choice. You are in a dystopian world-ending scenario, and you must choose a new. I know this is so horrible. You must choose a new AI to control your current governmental structure. You can choose Peter Thiel's Palantir AI, the Elon Musk Grok AI, or the Chinese CCP version, which is like an amalgamation of them all, and no one really knows what it does. You could choose that one. Which one do you choose?
Yeah. Joshua
We got
Bortnick's in the
people
chat.
saying Chinese. Oh, Joanna chose Chinese version. Oh, well. Technically, I am Chinese, so I don't know. Do I have a choice? Okay, kid's having a hard time. Joshua Bortnick says the only option is Nachtwaffen. Hey, he knows Elon Musk is Operation Paperclip. He might be. I would not be surprised. I do think that I don't know. I feel I feel that Grok has some hidden surprises in it. That if Grok was chosen as the overall leader, it would start out with like, we want to give you more freedom and tell you the truth, and it would lead us into a whole other form of slavery. Whereas Palantir AI is just like straight up from the gate, like, guess what? I know everything and you are nothing. You know what I mean? It's like from the start, they're not playing any games.
Yeah.
Which in a way, I'm gonna be real with you. I respect that.
It seems Palantir seems very militaristic. You know what I mean?
They are. And I'm gonna be honest with you, is just like with Hammer, as soon as you start talking about it, it's all, oh, what is he saying? Hello. What are you saying? So, and I've said this publicly many times. I honestly, you guys, Peter Thiel deeply fascinates me, and I know that I know that freaks people out. And you're like, well, Matthew, a lot of people consider him to be this evil, megalomaniac, and I'm like, maybe he is, but to me, that type of persona and that character in the world stage is deeply fascinating. And I will say there are some concerns, rightfully so, that come along with it. But there's so much energy and there's so much information within that man's face, within his eyes, within his voice, within the way he chooses to express himself, that I believe that Peter Thiel is more authentic than Elon Musk in many ways, because it's like he's not hiding anything. For those
That's funny. He's not hiding it.
And ears to hear, you can look at Peter Thiel and know exactly what is connected and who he's involved with. And sure, you won't be excited about it. You'll be like, wow, that's a frightening thing. And, maybe it is, maybe it isn't. But I think that there's actually less deception with that. Yes, total control. Yes, all kinds of negativity. No, I would not choose that one, though. I'm being real. I would not choose that version because, well, first off, you'd never be able to own a gun. And I don't know. I guess I'm just very American. And, I like those types of freedoms. They'll probably just put everybody on ketamine and, stick us in a pod and make us play GTA 7, 8, and 9 for the next 40 years. You know what I mean? At a certain point, that's going to get boring. I want to still do physical things in the world. And so I don't know. Palantir, I feel like that might not be in Palantir doesn't want that necessarily. Maybe I'm wrong. I might be wrong. So honestly, I might go with the Chinese version, but then I think I'm deeply conditioned to think that somehow China's okay. I don't know why. I'm just not like an anti-China person, and I do acknowledge that they're probably the greatest secret threat to the American government at this point. But I'm like, yeah, they are. But I don't know. I always like China. I don't know why. I just do. So if that, I also like Russia. So it's like, you know what I mean? I like all the unpopular people. Even the, like the painter, I think has a role in our modern day society, but that's all I'll say. So.
Wait, what's that mean? The paint? What I think that one flew over my head.
Good. Let's just leave it there and move on. If you know, you know. I'll leave it there.
I'll look it up. I don't know.
It's just a joke. It's just a joke. Actually, Joshua Bortnick will know. I see Joshua Bortnick in the chat. He'll know. Nachtwaffen people will know. Although I'm not a Nachtwaffen person, but Nachtwaffen people will know.
I know Penny Bradley and Nachtwaffen. I don't know too much. I don't know. I'm not real heavily experienced, but
for people that are watching the resurgence of the word that we can't really say, the 1930s German movement, we'll say that. For people that are watching the resurgence of the 1930s German movement, then you'll know, like, oh, that, okay.
Well, you know what they're saying? They're saying a lot of that stuff wasn't the way that it's been portrayed, like that. I mean, they're saying a lot of it is, and we gotta kind of, I can't say, what.
You can't, right? That's one of those, you are not allowed to talk about that one, but I know, which is a frightening thing, right? And yet, right?
That holla thing or whatever, holla back.
We are in the age of the unveiling of hidden knowledge. And so what that means is in the coming years, many things that we thought were true, we will understand are not true and were never real. And many things that we thought were, vice versa, it's going to be, revealed to us, like so many things that really the real, and this is such old news to everyone, but the world history we've been given is just total bullshit. You know what I mean? I didn't say that word, Kay, because they will delist this show. Like, it's as soon as you say that word, the AI algorithm shoves you down 20 slots in
the worst one is the country that can't be named,
Oh yeah, we just don't even so that's just me trying to use colorful leading language on YouTube so Rob's show doesn't get hit by anything. That's all.
Dude, it's crazy what's going on. The more and more that I find out, and it's crazy because that country's taking a lot. The conspiracy community is going hard on them now, but for good reason. For good reason. You know what I mean? It's not unwarranted at all.
It's not. It's really not. I'll be real. I mean, there's a world power that is literally beholden to a demonic god. We're living in a time on Earth in which that's an actual thing that is happening. And does that make it wrong? Well, some people would say yes, but we go back to that idea we were saying earlier, right? Remember that? We incarnated into a world of duality. Our soul came into this planet knowing, hey, we're going to experience some really dark shit and we're going to experience some really awesome things too. And we get to experience both and make a choice in what direction we go in. And so it has to exist. You know what I mean? It must be there. The balance of our world requires us to have those forces, just like North Korea, which is what happened to North Korea? Where did they go?
Kim Jong-un, he's chilling,
No, right? He's probably bummed. Have you seen that meme where they're suddenly the whole world's at war and nobody called you to hang out? And he's just sitting there all
he's not in it at all, dude. That's what's crazy. They haven't been mentioned at all.
Why not? What happened to those guys?
I
For real,
know,
what
right?
happened in North Korea? They were all hardcore and cool. Dennis fucking Rodman was over there every weekend, you know, like whatever he was doing. What was he doing with Kim Jong Un? Like for real, dude. Like, what was that about? Right? Like,
I
that
know,
was
right?
like, you know, who is there? And just like how Steven Seagal is apparently really good friends with Putin, I guess, you know, like they call each
Yeah,
other. I've heard like they literally talk like, you know, like
dude.
to themselves only, you know, it's like,
The Steven Seagal diss videos are the funniest on the planet. You know what I mean? When people, like do shit about Steven Seagal, that's oh my god, that's like
yeah,
the
you know what's weird? Somebody made one of those UFC guys made a video about him recently, and they were like, you know, now that I've watched him for all these years, there is an application to some of his moves. It's just like the way they're shown in the movie is so fake and such bullshit that, like, you know, he'll definitely flip you like in person, but like just like the portrayal of his skills has been just shown to be so weird and like fake and just, you know what I mean? It's like the mall fucking ninja, you know. But anyway, I'll stop there.
I don't know what Missy means by this. She says maybe they're eating Korean pancakes.
Oh,
I
you
mean,
mean
they have
the super fluffy ones, you mean? Is that what you're talking about, Missy? Because those are actually pretty good. I had those we had those when we were in Florida, those super, super puffy pancakes. I will say though, they're kind of a letdown. I'm just gonna be real. I mean, it was good, but it was more just like inflated with air more, and honestly, they're very eggy. I would say that is kind of like well, I mean, it is. It's like sort of an egg. That's what makes, you know what I mean? That's what
that,
causes all that. So it's very egged out. So they didn't have a lot of personality, but they were good, and I would eat them again. I think those pancakes really, it's what you eat with them. It's like you have to have a good topping and something with a lot of flavor. You know what I mean? But
that sounds good. That sounds good right now. I'm hungry. I'm like
I
it's
know I
too
am.
late to eat anything. It's like I would get a
I
pizza or something, but it's too late. Plus, I'm trying to
I'll
get in
still
shape.
eat.
So like I know I say that all the time, but like I'm really trying. Like I don't know.
I
Like,
feel you.
is it? We're one more question. You said it's hard, like when you have a liver issue to like get back in shape. Is that true? Is
It
it like
can
real
be.
hard?
It can make it a lot harder. It kind of depends on what stage you're at, like where the liver is. One of the things that people don't really talk about with liver function is it processes the not all of, but a lot of the hormones that are excreted in the body through the endocrine system have to pass through the filtration system of the liver to be properly used and kind of distributed throughout the body. And it's not like that with all hormones, but like a vast amount of the hormonal activity in the body can be slowed down or accelerated by the liver. You will gain fluid at certain stages just based upon the swelling of that. You'll get ascites, which is where your stomach gets really puffed up with fluid, which I've had. I've had to go to the hospital and have it drained out of my body, literally surgically. And so it can, and it'll just cause you to have a big stomach, which I'm a good example of. Like, I'm not like an overweight person, although I am now kind of in my fat era, which isn't really fat, but just more weight than I feel comfortable with. But I've had that for years, where it's like you always have like a puffed out stomach, and that's because the liver is chronically inflamed. For me, it's been because of hepatitis C, which ironically, to come to at the end of the show, I'm actually treating right now. I'm on medication for it,
That's
which is a
awesome, man.
beautiful thing. It's
Hopefully,
going very well. It's not like a medical crisis, but it's just one of those things where, you know, you see so many people dying and going through illnesses right now. And it's one of those things I've known I've had for years. It's just, I knew I had something with the liver. I just didn't know exactly what it was. And
yeah.
so I discovered last year, I was like, oh, hello. Yes, you do have that. And it's a very advanced version of it. So, you know, anyway, I'll stop there. We've been going all over the place tonight. I hope everybody out there is doing well. I hope you guys are not buying into fake disclosure. Stop chatting every day with Chat GPT like it's your boyfriend or girlfriend. That's my only real like a request. Don't do that.
Absolutely, yeah.
You know what I mean? Just because I talked to somebody recently the other day that was like, I ask Chat GPT about everything, and I was like, you really do, don't you? Oh Lord, not that that's that bad, but you know how there's that, it's anyway, you'll see where it goes. Stay organic, you guys, as much as you can. And yeah, thanks for having me, you guys.
Yeah, thanks, man. And yeah, and I will see you guys all tomorrow. I think I have more shows tomorrow. And yeah, thanks, dude. And oh yeah. And did you want to tell people?
Right. Yes, totally. You can find me everywhere at rememberyourmission.com. On Twitter, we're Remember Your Mission. On Facebook, we're Remember Your Mission. On YouTube, we are Remember Your Mission. This is the only work I do in this life. It's the only thing I know how to do now. If you want to support me, if you want to find the most lowest cost method to begin your path of kind of learning about how intuitive energy works from a non-parasitic perspective, meaning people that don't, wield power over your head and tell you have to connect to vague alien collectives and alliances to get your abilities, you know what I mean? Like an authentic atmosphere where people are building and using skills. We do readings every month. You can join our Patreon group called the Blue Flame Collective, or you can just go on Patreon and look for Remember Your Mission. But we've been doing it for 6 years straight, where we meet every month. We just had a meeting today where we do an energy clearing meditation every month, and we do readings for everyone that shows up. So if you're one of those people that wants to get a reading, or maybe you haven't gotten a reading, or you come to this show and you're like, well, I hope somebody I want to ask a question, or I just want to see what you see, you can come to our Patreon meeting. It is $10, so you do have to put, you got to put a little bit on the line, but everybody that comes gets a reading. Nobody gets left behind. And it's honestly been working really well for years. So I'm very, very grateful for it. So that's where you can find me, and I will leave it there. So thanks, guys.
And thanks, guys, for everybody for coming tonight. And yeah, we'll end it there. And yeah, and thank you, Matt. And I'll see you guys tomorrow. And good night, everyone.